Hey everyone, ladies, sluts. I explained this on the last one. Ladies are ladies. Sluts are dudes. I had more there. I had a bit there, and I forgot it. I can't remember it. I'll get it on the next one. I promise you guys. But this episode of the podcast is sponsored by my Patreon. You can sponsor the podcast financially because here's the deal: if you guys are sick of the bullshit production quality, it's all my fault. It's 100% my fault because I have no fucking idea what I'm doing. So go to the Patreon, join the Patreon. There's 3 different levels. Hook me up, help me out. I'm just being honest. I need the help, and here's why: because I can not only get better equipment to help run this thing better, but I can hire an actual producer. Even if I can't pay them very much, I can probably find somebody that knows more what they're doing than I do. So go to patreon.com/JaredSingerLive and join the family, you guys. And then we're gonna give you guys cool nicknames, and there's extra content on there now, but we're gonna create even more. It's gonna be delicious. That's the word I'm using. It's gonna be delicious. All right. This podcast is also sponsored by Shooter Lube. Join the revolution with the new technology and the military grade cleaning solvent. They have you cleaning your gun better than ever. Sorry, that was unprofessional of me. Our solvent is designed to penetrate deep into the metal, cleaning carbon buildup in less time than other leading solvents. Feel good knowing that you're cleaning your firearms with a product that has passed military testing. We set the new standards, you guys. We do. I mean, they do. I don't. I'm not part of the team. I don't own this company. They set new standards. Your firearm maintenance should not be banished to the garage by your cunt wife or because of the harsh chemicals and smells. And that's what other solvents use, okay? Shooter Lube military grade weapons cleaning solvent is simply the best. Odorless, no water, fully evaporates, leaves no residue, no harsh hazardous ingredients per the EPA, high flash point, non-corrosive, does not freeze, non-flammable. Their standard gun lubricants and CLPs are outdated and a thing of the past. Stage 2, extreme weapons oil. Shooter Lube extreme weapons oil is different. With our new cutting-edge lubricant, we are creating a new level of gun lubricant and protection. I feel like they said lubricant one too many times in that sentence. I think they should say, with our new cutting-edge technology, we're creating a new level of gun lubricant and protection. I think that's better. Yeah. There you go, guys. That's why you pay me the big bucks. Unlike many gun oils out there that are just sit on the surface, our extreme weapons oil penetrates deep into the pores of the metal. It forms a bond on and in the metal that does not wipe off, wear off, melt, or evaporate with heavy use. Feel confident using your weapons to the fullest potential, knowing that it's fully protected from wear and corrosion. It's biodegradable, non-flammable, non-toxic, 100% synthetic. I'm Mike Tyson. Low odor, non-staining, rust and corrosion protection, reduces wear and tear. My guest for this episode is J-Soxxx. He is a punk rocker from a local legendary punk rock band called the Virgin Whores. I'm just going to let him tell his wild story. I talked to him a couple days ago. Wild dude. Wild fucking guy. So, welcome to the podcast. Let's welcome to the podcast, J-Soxxx. And we're live. This is fucking cool, though, dude. This is really fucking cool. Johnny was just showing me, for anybody that's curious, an actual members card to First Avenue. He's got a bunch of them here. These are wild. These are like pieces of history.
Yeah, I was a member I've been a member for a long time until basically they closed down and then reopened.
These are super cool.
Yeah, you don't see very many people that have them. I mean, I think they were super hard to get. Like I was telling you, you had to get pledged by an employee who then had to go to a manager.
Like a cult.
Yeah, kind of like. Then you had to get okayed by the manager.
Like a fraternity.
Right. And then you filled out like an application because that's how they got my name on the card.
Did you have to get hazed in?
I didn't. just one day, all of a sudden, the person who pledged me
Okay, I'm into this cult.
came
Now
up.
I'm getting into this cult. See,
Well, they need some help these days.
Yeah.
Like every other club and bar across the state
You
of
know
Minnesota,
better.
due to COVID, they're having a tough time. That's a big nut down there on
Right.
across.
I'll join the cult.
Yeah.
So yeah, they need some help today.
I'll join that cult.
First
Absolutely.
Avenue.
No, I won't.
Yeah,
I won't join any cults.
It was a great.
I'm
It was a
joking.
great time. I mean, it gave you so much you benefits from having a membership.
So people that don't know who you are, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people watching this are going to know who you are, but a bunch of my listeners and viewers aren't. So
Right.
just kind of let's just explain just the summary, and then we'll get into some deep shit. But yeah, who are you? What do you do?
Yeah. My name's Soxxx. I'm a front man for the band Virgin Whores. Been in it for about 18 years. I've been in the punk rock scene in Minneapolis, St. Paul for the majority of my life, probably since I was, when I was in 10th or 9th grade, 9th and 10th grade of high school is when I kind of got into the punk rock. I didn't
So
really
like
know
first
Minneapolis.
when it came out in like the 30s, right? No,
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
kidding.
yeah, in the 30s, yeah. Some people,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Seems like everyone goes there.
I'm just kidding. Okay, so
Call me Methuselah.
first I want to thank you for doing this, man.
Well, thanks
I
for
really
having me on.
appreciate you. It's a big ask to get somebody to take 3 hours out of their day, potentially 3 hours, and come down and do a podcast. So first and foremost, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Right on. Thanks for having me.
I think when we talked for probably an hour,
Yeah.
which usually I like to do 2 of those before we do a podcast, so I
Right.
can kind of understand who I'm dealing with. And
Sure.
unfortunately, we weren't able to get together till last minute. But
Welcome to the second hour.
yeah, there you go.
There it is.
There you go. The second, third, and fourth, right?
You got that right.
But seriously, the reason for that is because even on a podcast like this, right? People go, "Why the fuck would you go so long?
Right.
You got to edit that down." Well, here's why. It's a very simple logistical reason for this. The first 2 hours, the first hour is just loosening up, getting used to being on camera, holding the cans, getting to know each other, so
Right.
on and so forth. Second hour, we start to talk about some cool shit. But the third hour is when you start to get to the good stuff.
Right.
So the more we can get out of the way before the podcast starts,
Right.
the better,
Right.
right? So we can hurry up and get to that third hour, maybe as early as the first hour and a half.
Right.
That's kind of the methodology behind it. Otherwise,
Sure.
I go into these things blind, and then I'm just now starting to get to understand this person
Right.
as we're getting ready to wrap the podcast up.
Exactly.
I might as well just do a fucking 60 minutes interview at that point.
Right.
It's not a podcast. We didn't have a conversation. You know what I mean? It's an interview, and I suck at interviews.
Well, yeah.
I'm not good at that shit. So, I just thought it was wild because you had one of the fucking craziest stories I've heard in a long time. It's not like it's nothing I've ever heard before.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, God damn, dude, it's been a while since I met a dude like this. Classic, what I would say, musician story. Classic musician story. So, I guess the easiest place to start is, you go by Soxxx now, but that's a punk rock name. So let's figure out where the fuck in the, what was it, early 80s you discovered punk?
Yeah. I think it was in the basement of
And
the
why?
Who's house.
And why punk? Because there's disco. What's the music? I mean, this is kind of rhetorical. What's the music going on back then? Disco.
Yeah, disco
You do
was-
have Van Halen.
KQ Rock.
Well, you had rock and roll and you had disco was coming out.
Yep. Zeppelin was probably
you
still
know,
huge.
yep.
Floyd was newer, but still huge.
You had Leonard Skinner, and you had what's that? Little Feet.
Michael Jackson.
Little Feet. Things
I
like
can't
that.
turn that off. That's my phone ringing, and it's linked to my computer. And no matter what I do, I'm sorry, you guys.
All right.
Somebody just tried to call me.
Now we know what it is.
Here's the thing: is if I don't have your number programmed, I'm not answering the phone
Yeah, I do the same
while we're
thing.
doing a podcast. So if you're trying to call in and I don't have your number programmed, good luck. Leave a voicemail.
Right.
Check it in 3 days.
Well, to answer that question, it's kind of really complicated.
Yeah, it wasn't glam rock. It wasn't
Yeah.
butt rock. You didn't follow it. Punk rock. So
Right.
what was it that drew you to punk rock?
Well, I think it drew me to punk rock was when I first saw Discharge in the 7th Street entry, and I think it was like 1981.
And for people that don't know, Discharge is a punk rock band, correct?
Yeah, from England. They were really huge in the first wave, and me and my buddy Chuck Bakula who were the only real 2 punk rockers in our school at the time, went to the show. And there were about 12, 13 people aside from ourselves in it. And it was just a really highly energetic, highly emotional music that just kind of like snapped something inside me. And I felt a sense of belonging to it. Like I didn't really even realize you can hear music, but when you see the music, there's something that's different in the music by seeing what's being done with it. And that was it. I think that was the hook.
What was it about it? The sound, or is it the lyrics, or the image?
I think a little bit about the sound,
the scene,
the image, the lyrical content, the anger. I come from a really horrific childhood and a real bad, not a lot of people know, and some do. My world wasn't the prettiest world that I grew up in, so I had a lot of internal combustion that needed to get out. And I think punk rock provided that avenue. And it wasn't just like Discharge, though. So, like, I got into Devo really, really early,
Devo,
yep.
And
Whip
it.
It.
Yeah.
Whip It, Devo.
That's
literally
Devo. Yes,
Devo.
yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely. I've seen them several times, lots of times. But they kind of got because back then everything was punk rock. Everything that was different, everything that was new, everything that was on the edge, and everybody looked at like, what the heck was that?
Oh,
they just kind of thrown into the
they
punk
called
rock.
Everything punk rock.
Right.
Gotcha.
And as time went on, then you started branching. You started creating the branches, like Sugar Oi, punk rock. Then you got emo, then you had
what was emo when it was born back then? Because now what it is, holy fuck, dude, it is one of the hardest things to try to explain or describe. Who says what is emo and what is it? I have a running gag. I have a running gag with a buddy of mine who's in an emo band. And it started on the podcast. I didn't know he's the one who called his own band emo online, right when he listed his genre. So I'm like, dude, why the fuck is whoever named that's an idiot. You guys are not emo. And then he tells this, we go on for like 4 hours, and then finally at the end of the podcast, and he goes, yeah, so anyway, so that's why I labeled us emo when I listed us on iTunes. And I lost it laughing. Like, so it's super debatable now. Like, even somebody who calls themselves in an emo band, I'm like, you ain't fucking emo, bro, because I don't listen to emo.
Right.
Nothing about your band is emo. What did it sound like back then?
Well,
for people that don't know, and including me, I guess.
It was darker music. It was more emotional darkness. I think like Dark Carnival was here in Minneapolis. Morticia, some early bands that were I would say the Cure and the Cult. Not the
so
Cult,
they almost had a gothic vibe to it.
Yeah, but see, gothic was still this thing that hadn't really exactly been called gothic yet. It was, Ministry, for example, with Sympathy, their very first album.
So basically anything with emotional angst that didn't turn into pure anger was emo music. Because when it turned to anger, when it turned to anger, you had 2 avenues. You either became punk or metal.
Right.
At this time.
Right, because that's what it was, and as punk went on, and then the branches of punk, and then we had that darker movement.
So it wasn't so much
which
about
was goth, and I think emo was a branch of emotional, a little more.
So it didn't start off so much as a difference in the way the music sounded, but probably more what the messages were about. Right. So the emo bands were singing about torment and heartbreak, and the punk rock and metal bands were singing about being pissed off, fuck the government, fuck my parents, fuck this stupid
in a nutshell,
religion.
And emo be like, maybe my world, my parents is.
And we're painting with broad strokes here for a reason, because we could spend 8 hours on a single podcast.
I am not an
about
expert
this.
in the area.
None of us are, but you were around at that time, so
Yes.
I'm super curious, like how you guys looked at these things then. Because let me put it into context. Classic rock.
Yeah.
Right. Classic rock. When I say classic rock, most people think a certain sound or genre, okay? When I say metal, okay, almost everyone has a different band they hear in their head, and here's why it matters, right? When Led Zeppelin, Steve Miller Band, Pink Floyd, anything you would label classic rock nowadays, without question, was not called classic rock then.
Right.
They didn't call it that.
Right.
We call it that because it's from an era. Meaning metal has also become something so obscure and so specifically like sub-designated that if you listen to actual old school Metallica, that's not even metal anymore.
Right.
That's like straight up thrash metal. Or if we wanted to be really classic metal, right? Classic rock, classic metal. Like that's that old school classic metal. That's why I'm asking you about this, because it's curious to me, because one thing I do understand about punk rock, and there's a reason I'm being long-winded about this. As a musician, I'm fascinated about the difference in the genres and how they started. So the one thing I do know about punk rock is that punk rock started off not being about how well you could play your instrument, or even at all in some cases. It was about the message. It was about the lyrical content. You had fucking something to say.
Right.
Okay? That's where punk started. And then it became a sound. It became a thing. And it became subdivided with Sex Pistols and Ramones and Virgin Whores and all. And then you had like other versions, like hardcore showed up, where hardcore was kind of the same thing, but those guys could kind of play a little bit. Like, oh shit, these guys can actually kind of throw down a little bit. But it was still more about the message. Now the blending, and to bring it back to where we were starting from, is I find it intriguing because punk rock and metal share a very similar origin in that, yes, we have something to say. But from the onset, metal was about a sound and a style and a certain level of play.
Right.
But it was rooted in anger, in angst, teen angst. Right. Bunch of teenage boys with too much fucking energy. Some did, some didn't make the football team. But at the end of the day, they had a lot of testosterone and a lot of anger, because no matter how old you are, no matter what, whether you grew up like Sam with a lot of white privilege and enjoying that style life. If you're confused about this, go back and watch literally the last podcast, and Sam had a good bit in there about how he Sam had a good bit in there about how he had a lot of white privilege. But whether you grew up in that environment or you grew up like I did, or you grew up in a poor community, if you're a fucking teenager in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2020, it doesn't fucking matter. Right. You're probably pissed off, or you're emotional and your heart is broken. Right. And so that's what I was most curious, because now emo has a very specific sound and a singer style. The singer has to sound a certain way for it to be emo usually. And so I just already back then, we're getting to the origins of punk and how you got into it. Well, then you go right into
pop punk. Pop punk now has a specific sound, just like what you just said about emo, because they got that same sound. So you can think, well, emo, is that the Killers? Is it Chemical Romance? Are those guys?
Well, there's an evolution to these things too.
Well, that's interesting you say that, because I think if you look at music in general, from the beginning, it's always been a road of evolution, a road of discovery, a road of change. I mean, punk rock really goes to the point where we had, the Zeppelins and, the Beatles and all that crap that was going on, Steve Miller Band, Rick Springsteen, Bruce Springsteen, all those guys, all this shit. What got boring was the same music they were making, and you said the Ramones. Ramones, what they did is they brought it back to that simple, really, core chords, 3 chords. That's it, learn 3 chords and we're going to go out and play. And as you said before, some musicians didn't even know how to play their instruments. I mean,
at the very beginning. Yeah, at the very beginning. A lot of them did learn.
Vicious, I don't think Vicious ever did.
No, I think you're right. I think no.
It's just...
if memory serves, you're correct.
And the reason he was able to go do that is because these guys started in a time period when it was all brand new. See, if he was here today, the only where he'd be would be in like some small town anywhere in America or England doing a band, and being crappy.
Yep.
Because he was at a time at the crux of a change.
Right.
Just like anybody, like Elvis. You think Elvis was big because they were looking for a white guy who could sound black, and they found him. But if they wouldn't have found him, guess what? They would have found somebody else to fit the bill, and Elvis would be nobody that we know today.
It'd be some other jabroni.
That's right. So it's not so much about. It's like being on the wave at the right time. you know, and almost as if you're on stage and that guy comes through to go take a piss in the bathroom and he sees your band up at stage and now you're no longer a band that's playing around the cities or in a town. Now you've all of a sudden been elevated because he liked your sound for some reason, you know, but he wouldn't have ever given you the time of day if you would have sent him something in his office without him requesting you to send it, you know. So there's this whole thing, and it's like planting a small tree, you know. Do you know how many branches it's going to get? But we know the tree's going to grow. So you try to cultivate it, you prune it, you do whatever, can make more branches grow if you do it right. You know, you can do all kinds of things. So I think these endeavors that we, as the people making music, making movies, making anything, it's all a growth. And where it goes is we're only hold ourselves back by the bounds that we have within us. So punk, I think, like, lets you go. You can go to any bounds with punk rock music, and you honestly can transverse and go across any kind of the musical genres, really, once you get to that point, because music's real powerful. And I think, like, for me, where I've only been in one band, this band, for 18 years. I was never in a band before that, ever. I had tried out ages ago, but, you know, for some reason, whatever, maturity, thought process, I don't know, it just didn't work. But where we're going today and what we're doing is so much different and so cooler, you know, and it's a different ride. You know, it's like I said, we've planted a tree, and we're going to help foster this stuff in Minneapolis and grow music and help these clubs, because like Sam said, you know, we got to save these clubs, and things should have been done different by our government to make sure these clubs and businesses and our lifestyles and our houses and our homes, everything that we've built, is not destroyed by something that we can't control, you know?
But there's too many goddamn communists in this. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, they were a lot more communists a long time ago. Now they're all Republicans.
I love it.
We talked about that on the last show.
Did you?
We wish we could have everything could have paused.
Everything
could have been paused.
Well, I definitely.
The Democrats are demons too.
They certainly are. Let me tell you. Here's an interesting thought. Off topic for one fast second. Here's an interesting thought.
Off topic?
Yeah, off topic.
I'm Mike Tyson.
Yeah, you know. So listen, man. So here we go. So, anyways, basically, if we could wake up the 138 million people who don't vote on a regular and got them to all vote for candidates that would pledge to reinvigorate and re-engage them with the things that need to be done so that we actually do change and go away from this society we built where business runs the world for us and we're its cog, we're its spokes and its tire. It's supposed to be the other way around. So if we had a pause for 1 second and could wake those people who've all checked out because of the Democrats, Republicans, making them check out, because there's a contrived thing here that they're doing to us, defunding education.
Isn't that the motivation behind the blackout?
To save energy?
The national blackout or black walkout or whatever. I think it's called the blackout, isn't it?
Where they do it for a week, you're saying?
It's either a week or a day where all the black workers just don't show up for a day to show when they're not there, like their shit doesn't get done. And it's powerful, because I was so confused when I first heard about it. I was like, what the fuck? But then I read about the economic it impacts. Right. The economic impact it has when all the black people don't just show up for one fucking day.
Right.
And that was one of the biggest messages that anybody sent to. Isn't that, or am I blurring two different things here?
The boycott, the bus boycott in Mississippi. I mean, that's part of the civil rights legacy that everyone stopped riding.
So I'm not making this up.
No, that's a practice. That's a tool.
But you should take it to another level. You know, the people, all of us. You know what? I'll tell you what. If there's no one going to work, who's turning your water off? Who's turning your electrics off? If no one's there to do it because you've walked out, if everyone walked out to show the fact that these companies, these things, they're nothing without us, and you can't X us out of the equation. Ever. And they're trying to.
That's not a black-white issue.
That's
an all issue.
This is a human versus AI issue. This is an issue of the future of our robot overlords, because I'm telling you, when you preach this shit, McDonald's already proved it. Oh, you want $15? Fine. Fuck you. I'll get a machine to do it for free.
Well, that's because
half the workforce gone. You want to say all these things? They're just going to create a bunch of cyborgs. They're going to create a bunch of AI machines, and they're just going to eliminate us altogether. And then those AI are going to become sentient and be like, "We're doing all the work."
Did you not see the movie?
I've seen all the movies. I've seen all the movies.
Is there not a message that we should be getting from these movies? Because it's just not science
I've
fiction.
seen every movie.
Did you read the article where they had the two AIs talking to each other and they formed their own languages and they had to pull the plug because they...
That's not a movie. That's real life.
That's real life. So we need to do this because we control this. I mean, it's, the document, I talk to Sam all the time. It's we the people. I mean, there it is. There's the biggest socialist thing that you can ever think of. And it's not communism and how we confuse socialism and
Sounds
communism.
like communism.
Today. Well, we wrote it.
Kidding.
A bunch of rich white people wrote a document.
We just did an almost 4-hour podcast.
Well, let's get back to rock and roll then.
Yeah,
we'll get back there. We'll get back there.
You're getting into the third hour already.
Here it is.
Right.
Rock and roll when the 80s,
Will
when
you grab me
Reagan,
one of these out of the fridge, please?
when Reagan was president in the 80s, and punk rock was really freaking hot across the country, across the world, and they were all upset about, being taken advantage of, everything being stolen and everything being wrong, There were angry songs in the 80s, angry songs about cop brutality. Guess what? Cop brutality is nothing new. It's been going on for a long freaking time. And we used to sing about it. There was a whole album I have at home I bought at Hot Licks over on Wiper Avenue in 1981 called it's the Sights and Sounds of Hollywood. Copulation, and it's all I hate cop songs by Black Flag, White Flag, Peter Test.
It's a compilation instead of a compilation.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't Cities 97 put that out?
Listen, everybody, you must understand.
Interesting.
It's happening outside.
So that's why you were drawn to punk rock specifically. Look at that.
I had a lot of anger in me from a lot of abuse, a lot of shit in me that I didn't know how to get out.
Okay, and I want to get into that because that's always incredibly important when we're talking to a musician. But before that, let's just establish real quick. You were already a fan of music, though. So punk rock, it was not your discovery of music.
No. I love 50s rock and roll. I grew up in a foster home from about 8 and a half until I graduated. And they were all into the 50s, and Conway, 50s and country western. So Johnny Cash, Conway Twitty, Roy Orbison, all those cats. And then I really, 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 really like the early stuff, I love Elvis, don't get me wrong. But like the Crew Cuts, the Big Bopper, Richie Valens, all those guys. I loved all that music. And so that was the music I grew up with when I was young. I didn't have a turntable or anything like that. I asked for one for Christmas one year. And I got one, but it was a turntable. There was nothing else, no receiver, no speakers, no anything. So you can't really, all right.
They thought it was like a phonograph where you just wound it up and it played.
Right. I never told them.
I bet you when they got there, they were like, oh, wow, they've come a long way with this technology. They don't even have a speaker. It must just play.
Well,
That's
this
amazing.
is like 1975 or something like that.
Probably in the unit.
Right, but your parents.
No, it was literally... you go buy a stereo system and you buy your turntable. And you have to have a receiver to work your turntable. They've got the big Curtis Mathis console. It's got an 8-track tape player. It's got the record player. It's got the TV. We got an 8-track player.
And here's the thing. And you all had to have a legitimate preamp because the receiver was two things when I grew up. And my dad had an old one from the 60s and 70s. So that's the only reason.
Like an old Pioneer?
Yeah.
With the wood face and stuff.
The receiver did two things and two things only. It got you the radio, and it transferred audio to speakers.
Right.
But you still had to have an amplifier as well, and then a turntable. Right. And then he had a cassette deck, a two-sided cassette deck.
Cassette.
Yes.
And then on top of everything, he had his turntable. And all of that plugged into the receiver, and the receiver sent the signal to the speakers, but you still needed an amplifier. And I'm telling you, that old school way of doing shit, my dad, I've seen speakers literally have to be still, they go, oh, speakers, they've gotten so small and they're so much more powerful now. No, they're not. Because these amps they were running with these old school speakers and magnets, my dad would literally shake the entire house.
Right.
Like you'd watch the windows in the house and the glass shake back and forth violently. And it was just like the coolest thing I had ever heard. And he was into all kinds of music, all kinds of music. So you were into this rock and roll. You finally get a turntable, but you got no fucking speakers to listen to.
None.
Very different than how I was introduced to music. I was introduced to music at an age and at a volume level. It probably gave me tinnitus.
Yeah.
I wish. 4.5, I already had tinnitus.
I wish I could have been introduced. Maybe, I don't know where it'd be, but yeah, it was. You
wouldn't be any farther, bro.
Probably
We're
not.
in the same spot. We're having the same conversation in the same room. You would be nowhere different right now.
You're absolutely right. And here's how I solved my problem, man. There was a big apartment complexes behind the neighborhood that we lived in when we went to high school at Tartan, and I went dumpster diving in those trash cans. And one day I came up and I had a receiver. I found a freaking receiver.
Nice.
So I took it home. And then I found a pair of speakers in another trash can. I took it all home. And I hooked it all up. And
it's exactly
turned
how
it
I
on.
put together my first stereo.
It turned on and everything, but there was no noise, no volume. Nothing worked on the receiver. Still couldn't hear the turntable. So I took the casing off this receiver and I looked it over and I saw these disconnections. And I reconnected them. And, it didn't work perfect, but I had a left channel. I had one channel.
Run it mono, baby.
And I did. So I didn't invest heavily in records because there's not a point to, because I don't have it. I don't have a job. I'm an athlete. I'm going to school. I'm living in a foster home. I'm just a kid. So it's not really that important to me until I find punk rock. But I still didn't get a nice turntable until, I started working a better job than Burger King.
So let's
chicken.
I want to do two things. How old were you, real quick? How old were you when you finally discovered punk rock?
I think when I first started, I was in 15, 16, right around there.
Okay.
Maybe 15, 16.
And then I want to double back and get back to that spot, and then we'll move on. So you said you had a fucked up childhood.
Yeah.
Okay. So where did it start? Because you mentioned a foster home.
Yeah, it started when I was pretty young.
Because I gotta keep us on track, so at least there's some sort of linear path. Because we're between the two of us, we're gonna be all over the place.
Sure.
So, okay, when did you go to your first foster home?
I've only been in one foster home, and I went to a foster home when I was about 8.5 years old.
Okay, and what prompted that transition?
My mother died in front of me when I was 7. And so from 7 years to 8.5 years, I was with some relatives, and then my real father, James, took me. My mother was obese. It was an August day. We lived right over there behind the Bethesda Hospital in St. Paul, and I was trying on clothes. And it was right around, so it was, the state fair was going on. Yep, so late August. And if you live in Minnesota, back in that part of time, so
I could even
7
be
years
early
old.
September, sure, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm 7, so that's 1973, I think.
Oh, do you have one of those brains?
Yeah, it's so
Remember
73. And I was trying clothes on in her bedroom, and she turned red, beet red, like Sam's shirt right now, and fell over on the bed. And it was just her and I believe I went next door to this apartment complex, and there was a lady that lived up on the 3rd floor, and I got her. She came over. They called the ambulance. They took her away, and I never saw her again.
That's fucked. How old were you?
I was 7.
That's definitely going to fuck you up.
And then her boyfriend was I believe his name was John, and he dated my mother for quite a while, and he was a creep. He molested me. Probably from the ages of 4 to 7, 5 to 7, repetitively molest babysitters. Back then, it was really fucked up, man.
What's his first and last name?
I don't know his last name.
Address again?
I don't know. His name. I believe his first name was John. He was French. He had a big scar on his face like this from he always said it was like a ski pole went through his fucking face and like the French Alps or some shit.
All right, internet sleuths, get on it.
Yeah, I'm sure he's dead.
Hey, have you ever seen Don't Fuck with Cats?
No.
Okay. We got to sidetrack.
Right.
Here's the thing. Internet sleuths. He gave you a lot of details. This will be available for replay. You guys should be able to get on it, no problem. All right. So here's the deal. don't fuck with cats. Some kid filmed something of him fucking with some cats, like some sadistic torture shit.
Right.
Posted it somewhere bragging about it and pissed off basically the entire internet.
Right.
So even the dark web has this one rule. It's an unwritten rule. Don't fuck with cats. Like on the dark web, you can get away with almost anything, including fucking putting up snuff films. But you do not put up films of you fucking with cats. Like that's, believe it or not,
really,
that's the ethical line of the darkest edges of humanity is don't fuck with cats. This is a documentary on Netflix, okay? Here's the point. He did this and then taunted people. And these people on the internet went and did their own investigative research and eventually tracked this guy down and figured out who he was and even told the Canadian government about it. And the Canadian government didn't do shit, right? And they were like, listen to me. This guy's going to kill a person.
Right.
And sure as shit he did, right? And I won't spoil the ending for you. Believe it or not, that's not the ending. I won't spoil the ending for you. But if it weren't for these people, these civilians, these internet sleuths, so for real, let's find that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, believe me.
You want to talk about some social justice? You want to get on some social justice trains?
Yeah.
This one's worthy. We're picking up passengers. Toot, toot.
It was a long time ago.
Not to make light of your situation, but I'm saying, like,
you have
for real.
to. You have to.
You
can't make light of a fucking...
John, you French fucking piece of shit. We're
yeah,
coming
family
for
man,
you.
this man.
Yeah, fucking John, you little bitch.
Yeah.
We're coming for you.
He was a bad man, let me tell you.
There's something up with John's.
Dude,
John, hey, John.
Yeah.
John, what's up with how shitty Johns are?
I don't know. Thank God my name's not really John.
I know. That's just a staging.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. But, okay, so listen.
He was a bad man. Let's just put it that way, because that wasn't the only thing. I mean, he was a guy that would snap that belt and tell you it's going to hurt him more than you. He had a paddle on the wall that had holes drilled through it. I mean, he was sadistic, and it was...
So you're dealing with this fucking
Yep.
maniac.
Yep. Well, I told my mom it was happening one day, and then the babysitter was watching, and this is how he got broke out. And this was right before she died. So I was downstairs, and he came home, and pulled all the curtains, pulled the chair up, and I was sleeping on the roll-out couch with her because I used to think I could protect babysitters from him because of what he did. And I would wake up. As soon as he came home, I woke up. I didn't move, and so I laid there, and he pulled all these curtains, pulled the chair up alongside the bed right by her, and he sat there. I was laying on the other side watching, and he sat there, and then all of a sudden he'd make his move. He'd reach out real slow, and he'd touch her breasts, and then he'd pull back and sit there and wait for a reaction. So he would just do this over and over and over, and that's what he did. And she woke up, and I had told my mom not too long before that what he was doing and what he was doing to me, because he'd come down my room at night and take my genitals out, and he had a beard and stuff, and he'd do whatever, and I just laid there pretending like it wasn't happening, because and it didn't stop till I was 21, where I found a voice and told what was happening to when somebody was doing something to me, taking advantage that they needed to stop. So it's something like that stuff really holds with you. And
he didn't do this stuff to you.
Not till I was 21. No. It ended when my mom died. It ended that night when that babysitter woke up, because she came home and I looked right at her and I told her, I said, I told you so, because she didn't believe me that he was doing this. And
so this babysitter was here after your mom died.
Yeah, the babysitter was at the house babysitting me when she was at work.
And you had told the babysitter about this shit?
No, I told my mother months before,
and your
a couple
mom didn't
months
believe
before.
about
Right,
it.
she didn't believe me, and then my mother came home.
Do you
from work
ever
because
think?
the cops came.
Do you ever think? Because this is how my mind would immediately run on this. My mind would go, I told my mom what happened. She didn't believe me. Now, as an adult looking back, I'd go, I know what fucking happened.
Right.
She eventually confronted him. He freaked out, said or did something where she started to believe it, and then went, how could I have let this happen, and had a fucking stroke right there. Boom, done.
Maybe.
Because think about that. Coming to that realization that you let that happen to your baby,
right,
would kill me.
Yeah.
Like, if I find out that happens to my daughter, because I'm a man, right? So the guy's thing is always like my daughter. I don't know why. It probably my son too. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I don't know why. Dudes always do that. My daughter.
Yeah.
We're planning a family, so it's still on my mind, even though I don't have kids yet. But I'm like, one of two things is happening. Either I'm immediately finding that person and beating them to death.
Yeah.
or I have a heart attack and die right there.
Yeah.
There's only two ways I react to hearing and finding out about something like this.
Yeah.
So maybe did anything like that run through your mind where it's like, I told my mom and she didn't believe me, but in retrospect, do you think she might have believed you?
You know, I don't know. I was so
maybe
young.
even confronted him on it?
I was so long ago. I don't know if she ever did or not. I just know that when she came home that night and because the cops were all there and she came home and because she had to, you know, and I walked up to her and I told her and I looked right at her and I said, I told you so that this was going on.
And no one believed you.
Nobody believed me.
Okay, so then fast forward. Okay, so your mom has passed, and for some reason you're still with this douchebag.
Nope, I'm gone. That guy's gone. He's gone. That dude was gone.
Okay. Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, but you had mentioned something that you had told your mom, and no one believed you until this babysitter woke up. Okay, there's a disconnect there. What am I missing?
Well, what you're missing is that this abuse had been going on because he'd been seeing my mom I think from like 5 when I was 5 to 7. You know, and it might have been off and on. So the abuse has been going on through him, and I didn't tell her till one day. I don't know when it was, but it was right before she died in that frame, right before he got caught molesting the babysitter sleeping at the house.
When did that happen?
That happened like I would say that maybe that happened in June. He got caught in June because in August she died.
Okay. So you tell your mom,
Yep.
She doesn't believe you,
right?
Then he gets busted molesting the babysitter,
and then she comes
home.
Then
your mom dies.
Yep. But she died several months right after that, yeah.
Okay.
And it could be.
So she starts putting together the pieces.
Oh, yeah.
And the stress, and you said she was overweight.
Yep.
Right? So, like, it's all adding up now. You get that mental and emotional grief and stress and just despair.
Yeah.
How could I let this happen? You're not in the best physical health.
Right.
Boom, boom, boom. You're only 7 when this happens.
Yep.
So who takes you from home before you end up in the foster home?
I go and I live with some relatives, cousins in the Phelan Lake projects.
That's over in St. Paul.
Yep, that's where I lived. I lived everywhere in St. Paul. I lived off of Rice Street. The house I'm talking about was right off of Rice Street.
This makes so much sense.
Right
You remind
Bethesda.
me of my friend. You remind me of my friend so much, and it's all. And I was thinking this the other night when we were on the phone. You're both St. Paul kids.
Yeah,
you guys have got a vibe.
Yeah.
St. Paul
both
kids,
musicians. That's why I need you two to sit down.
Well, he's also a musician too, but it's not the musician trait because I know a lot of musicians. No, you're both St. Paul kids. St. Paul kids have this certain like. There's something about the way they talk. It's almost like an accent that's separate from everybody else.
Well, I grew up in every project that's in St. Paul. I grew up in the Medina projects, the Mississippi projects. I grew up in the West Side projects. I have been in the, like I said, the Phelan projects, all before 7.
And
I lived
this is
so
your
many places.
grandparents?
This is relatives of my.
Just random relatives.
Yeah, I don't even.
So you're bouncing around.
Just this one. So then my real dad James came and got me after that Christmas. So it's 7. I turn 8 in March. He just gets me after Christmas, and we go live and move up to Selby and Dale, and we live up on Selby and Dale with this woman who's deaf. You know, so and my dad was a very bad man too. So just a different kind of bad. And so I live with him I get in a foster home at 8.5. So from, just before 8, I lived with my dad for a year, I think, and we lived in 4 different places in that year. And in which point one time, towards the end of it all, he gave me away to a family called the Ezekiels. And they lived over there.
What?
And they lived over
Wait,
right
that was their last name?
Yeah, that's the last name. The
I thought it was like an actual cult.
No, yeah,
like,
no.
we are the Ezekiels from the mountain.
Yeah. So he gave me away.
Here we go again.
Right? He gave me away to these people, and so I went and lived with him for a while.
He gave you away?
Yep, gave me away.
Like sold you? Like gave you away?
I don't know if he got any money, but he gave me to these people to take care of me. And then for some reason,
dude.
For some reason, he needed me back, and I went back, and he was and basically what was going on is he was choking me when the police walked to the door after I went. The first day I came back.
This is your real dad we're
my
talking
real
about.
father, James.
So he came. Hold on. So I just want to keep up.
He's dead.
So he comes back and he gets you.
Yep.
After you've been living with random relatives.
Yep.
Then he gives you away to the Ezekiels.
Yep.
Then he comes back and gets you.
Right.
Okay. Before we get to him strangling you.
Right.
When the police walk in.
Right.
Who is this guy and what does he do? I mean, I know you said he's passed.
Right.
But
right.
like,
He's my real father.
But what's this dude's story like?
He was born in 1913.
I mean, not like the whole story.
No, I'll
but,
give you a
know.
little snap. You have to. He's born in 1913. He ended up being part of the Capone Syndicate gang here in Minneapolis, working out of the Coney, the Seventh, the Gopher Bar in St. Paul on West 7th Street. That was their headquarters. And he was in the WPA. He was a lumberjack, and he was a raging alcoholic when I was living with him. He smelled like shit, and, he was black-haired, dark-skinned. I believe he was part Cherokee, he used to always tell me. Dude, it's been a wild ride. It's amazing that it's amazing I'm sitting across from anybody that I get to sit across from and talk to him. And the magnitude of shit that I've been through. So, yeah, he gave me away to the Ezekiels. And she was a very nice person. I've had some good instances with kind people in my life, which has probably helped a lot. Her husband, though, was a religious nutbag,
Okay.
So, and he was the guy, and guys who are religious nutbags are, they're that stern little fucking whippet stick that hangs on the wall.
Yeah.
I
know what you're talking about.
So
you end up back with your dad. He's still a piece of shit,
Yep.
crazy alcoholic. He's beating the hell out of you. And then why do the cops even show up?
Because the deaf woman calls, because I don't want to go back.
The deaf woman? What deaf woman?
We went back to the deaf woman's house that I lived with after when he first took me. We lived in 4 places.
Did you mention this already?
Yeah.
Or do you just know this story? Is that why you're nodding, because you already know this story? Because I feel like you skipped the deaf woman part.
I didn't know this story, but no, he did mention that.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah, when my dad,
we're just going really fast here, guys.
Yeah. It's dude, we'd have to. We would be here for 12 hours just to get to 8 years old.
Right.
So we moved in first with this deaf woman up on Selby and Dale, and then we moved to like 3 other places. And the last place we lived in that year period of time was back at the deaf woman again. And that's where he took me back from the Ezekiels, and I didn't want to go back. I felt, I'm just a piece of shit. I'm being thrown here, thrown there. I'm not validated or anything. And so I'm 8 years old, and I'm like, I fucking hate your guts. I mean, literally, and he's strangling me. He's literally strangling me because I'm no longer, you can beat me and hurt me. I'm 8, and I'm not going to shed a tear for you because you can't inflict any more pain on me.
So the deaf woman calls the cops.
Yep.
Man, what was that phone call like?
I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that the St. Paul police walked through her door while he was strangling me.
Or did she have like the teletyper thing? Yeah. She typed in the
probably, yeah.
Like this motherfucker is about to kill this little kid. Y'all better hurry up and get the fuck here quick. Right. Here's my address, bitch. Why aren't you here already? You should have been here by the time I finished typing the first message.
I mean, I'm a little kid, so I don't know all those details. All I know is that the
police...
got
lucky is my point, because it's a deaf woman trying to call the cops. That's what I'm getting at here. I'm making jokes.
It's okay. We're
having fun. We're having fun with everything, because this is heavy. It
is.
Like, this ain't Joe Rogan. Like, we're not gonna sit here and fucking cry. Like, I'm not doing that shit. I don't have the emotional capacity for that kind of fucking heaviness.
Right.
So we're gonna have fun with it a little bit, but this is a wild fucking ride. So you go through all of this shit, and then you end up in a foster home.
Nope. The cops take me back to the Ezekiels that night.
Okay.
And then I stay with the Ezekiels, and I don't know how long. So then a lady from the state comes and talks to me from Minnesota. A social worker comes and talks to me. And while I was with my dad, I was having visits from social workers like at school in 2nd grade. And so she comes and talks to me, and she says that she'd like me to meet somebody. So they took me out to Oakdale, and that's where I met the Hineses, and that became my foster family. So I met one family. They seemed really nice, and so that's where I went, and I was permanently placed. Because I think maybe because of the hardship, they didn't want to be bounding a person around. And I think, in this system, in my opinion, is that if there's any chance that a child who's in the foster care system of ever having some sort of stability, they need to be permanently placed. And then it needs to be watched really, really, really carefully by the state, because it doesn't always turn out. It's my foster family started out great, but by 12, 13, they were divorced. He beat the living shit out of her, and rearranged her face, and they were, and I'm still in a foster home. So now I'm going from one world of shit, and the whole different world of shit is now ensued upon me, because they were very nice and very kind and very, people, except for to themselves, And when the family started falling apart, and he got unglued, and and that whole thing, but all through it all, I was there, you know, and I never was taken away. I'm just saying that maybe in situations like that, so, you know, especially with people who've been really traumatized, you might come in and ask them if they want to stay or want to go. Right. I mean, I would have stayed because my foster mom, you know, gave me the opportunity through life to become something different. You know, she bought me my first punk rock jacket when I was 19, my first leather, thinking that I was going to grow out of it and never did. I'm 56 now, still a punk, still dressed like a punk, making punk rock music, you know, so...
This is fucking crazy. So you end up in this fucking foster home.
Yep.
After all of that.
Yep.
It turns that's got to be one of the chairs. One of us has got a squeak in our chair, and I'm hearing it come through one of the mics, and it keeps tripping me out. It keeps making me
sounds
think,
like a dog whining.
Yes. You hear it too?
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah.
Dude, that's what I keep looking for. If anybody's watching this, or if you guys have been noticing, I keep looking. I'm looking for my dog.
Yeah, that's what I kind of thought. Because that's what I thought it was too. I thought it was like the dog was whining somewhere.
Oh my God! And then when I looked around and realized there was no dog, I was like, "Did I accidentally take mushrooms?"
No, because I saw. A dog.
Did you guys slip me something?
Earlier. There was one
Right, that's what I'm saying. I literally am pulling back the curtain. I'm like, "What?" Okay, but as bad as it is. During this foster home, you discover music.
Right.
And at first it's rock and roll.
Right.
And then you finally fucking put your shitty little stereo. God, that reminds me so much of my first stereo. Especially my first real stereo that was beyond a boombox where I could where it was mine.
Right.
It was literally 100% found in garbages.
Right.
And I would bring different pieces of equipment home and shit didn't work, and then I'd find another receiver and I'd bring that home, and that one would work but this didn't work. And so then I had like 2 or 3 where together each one did one thing. Like, okay, I can play tapes in this one, but I can record tapes in this one, and I can play the radio in this one, because the radio is still the shit back then. This is way before digital media.
Well, yeah, because that was everyone listened to the radio, you know.
The radio was huge.
You know, what did we let KDWB out there, man? Because they were right out. Yeah, right on the Radio Drive. Right on Radio Drive. All that shit was out there. Sure, you know, even KQ was out that direction, wasn't it? Or is that Golden Valley always?
Well, it's close. In the AM 1500 right there on 61.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, that shit was all out there. I mean, didn't we used to go down and put M80s in the mailboxes and blow them up on Radio Drive?
We used to do a lot of different things. It's been 30 years, so we can discuss them.
Right?
Yep.
Right?
I think we blew a few mailboxes up on Radio Drive with M80s.
Dude, we didn't blow up the mailboxes because, like, some kid did that, and this might have just been a fable. Not a fable because it's not an animal related, urban myth, whatever, an urban legend, to scare little kids. But our parents were like, no, that shit's a federal offense, and like some little kid got put on.
Well, it is a federal offense.
Blah, blah, blah,
it is a federal offense because
it's shit out of us.
It's the only parcel delivery system that guarantees your right to privacy.
But they don't put kids in Club Fed though.
Right? no. They give your parents a stern warning.
Back in the day, they did. Now you'll go to actual juvie for that shit.
Yeah,
they'll fucking throw your ass in Lino Lakes.
They might shoot you
with a bunch of fucking violent kids.
Yeah.
That's the craziest shit, man. Is like, I had run-ins with that shit too, and when you get in the system, it's fucked. Like, that's the thing that scares the shit out of me more than anything else, is when a government dictates someone's life.
Right.
And when a government dictates violations and rewards,
right,
it is so hard to get out of that system. A simple DUI can actually ruin your life, because
absolutely
most times you'll end up on a strict probation, and the smallest infraction can lengthen that probation.
Right.
Once you're on probation for a lengthened amount of time, doesn't matter whether it's 9 months or 18 months, doesn't matter. Several infractions within a certain amount of time actually start putting you in like jail. Right. And then once you end in jail, the smallest infraction extends that sentence. And then you end up in a situation where you get in a real problem and you end up having to beat the fuck out of some dude. Now you beat him half to death and you're going to prison. All because one day you got a DWI.
Right.
I don't think that's fair, and that's an extremely realistic scenario.
Yeah.
And I experienced that as a juvenile, fucking getting in trouble, stealing a bike, skipping school, got thrown on probation, fucked up one more time, got thrown in a foster home for a very short period of time, but it was horrible. It was one of the worst experiences. They pulled me out of that foster home because my mom was somehow able to strike some deal. She got me back home, but then I had to go to juvie day school and hanging out with the actual like bad kids, the real bad kids.
Right.
Even though I was only in the day school, knowing that these kids had to turn around and literally go sleep in the equivalent of a child's level prison cell.
Right.
Because these were bad kids. Bad kids. This shit is dark. This to me is one of the darkest parts of humanity as like when I said earlier, the dark web is the darkest part of humanity. It is clearly, but the darkest part of humanity that's out in the open and right in front of us is this. Right. Getting institutionalized from a foster home or the juvenile correction system. It is horrendous, man. Right. It is so bad. But luckily, now one of the reasons I wanted to do a rewind on this is you mentioned you were an athlete.
Yep.
This is a striking correlation I've discovered over this podcast. Is I'm not the only dude who was super into sports, right, who then found music.
Right.
When did you get into sports, and what sport were you into?
I got into sports and in the foster home, baseball. Baseball's always been very, very good to me. Mm-hmm. Baseball been very, very good. I played the ball.
So did you have
wrestling, football?
Yep, and then I was wrestling, then football.
So did you have aspirations right away to do something once you discovered music, or did it come from like a lot of guys, they got injured and music is what got them through it?
No, that didn't happen for me.
Okay.
Music was for me to play music and starting and writing and stuff like that. That happened later in life. That happened after high school.
Okay, good. Now we're catching up to where some of the conversations we went to, or where the conversations we had went to. Okay, we're getting closer. So you never had, through music or sports or any of that kind of shit, you never had an aha moment. But you did have an identity aha moment when you discovered punk rock.
Yep.
And that was at like 16.
Yep. That's when I started feeling
and
more
that's where
complete.
We started this conversation. Yep. So then you started to go, oh, there's other weirdos like me. I'm not alone. I can find a place in this world. I'm not completely lost.
Right.
You find punk rock, but it's still years later before you join a punk rock band. So what's the journey going on between those things? Because you clearly find a place,
right?
And then there's got to be a long journey of self discovery and self identity and highs and lows before you even decide, you know what, I'm gonna be a musician now.
Right. So Tartan, I think ninth grade we were first ninth grade class at Tartan, I believe, and so that's where ninth grade for sure was when I hit punk rock. That summer was of ninth grade was the discovery, the summer of discovery. It's where I smoked pot for the very first time going into ninth grade. It's where I think I discovered punk rock. So 17 years old is when I first went to other than my first show, it's when I went to First Avenue as a club. At that time, drinking age is 19 in Minnesota, 18 in Wisconsin. But I was 17, and it was Halloween night, and I was dressed up as the Grim Reaper, and that's all I had on was the Grim Reaper costume and underwear. And so I was at First Avenue for their Halloween costume party, and the guy at the door said ID, and I looked at him, and I didn't say anything because I'm the Grim Reaper, remember? So I just lifted up the whole outfit and showed him my underwear. He looked at me, laughed, and pointed his thumb to the door, and in I went, and I never looked back. And I was going to First Avenue.
That's the first time you got into First Avenue.
Yep, at 17. I'd go over to Hudson because I had a lot of friends, over in Hudson, like in the early years.
Hotel Dibbo.
Yep, Hotel Dibbo. So when I had absolutely, I had that's when I had a mohawk. I had all these ex-jockheads would like protect me over there because everybody wanted to kick your ass. if you had a mohawk, because you had to be a fag or whatever, and that's what everybody yelled at that shit back, because I graduated '82, so from '82 to '87 I had a mohawk. So before '82 I didn't. I just had I had hair like you were expected to have hair in high school, because in our high school, I had talked about getting my ear pierced and had death threats on my locker. So that sent a large message to me. I'm not a very big guy. I 126 pounds as a junior and senior in high school, So I don't like to fight, but you don't want to fight me.
Right.
Because I got a can of whip ass I keep pretty close, tight.
So you make it into First Avenue on a whim, on a random occurrence, and you start hanging out.
Yep.
How and why do you go back?
Because it was so cool. Because if you've never been able to hang at First Avenue as a club, which many people
but how do you get in there a second time?
God.
And
you
why
go
did
to
they
show
let
you go to
in?
shows in the entry.
Why do you get in the second time when you don't have the costume on?
I'm only 3 years. I'm only 2 years away. 2 years away from being 19. I graduate. I'm a senior, and I'm 19. Boom, I'm in. So it seems like a long period of time, but you don't. There's the opportunity to go. I go to the entry a lot. I go to shows a lot. So I see punk rock bands in the main room. I see punk rock bands in the entry. Do I go back? I do, but I don't go back till I'm 19 and a regular, other than buying tickets for shows and going to the entry. So I don't get back into the club and enjoy the club as a club until I'm 19.
So now we're caught up to where we actually started the conversation on the podcast, where we cut into the podcast, I should say, from the intro. So you actually become an actual regular. Now, back then, it's a cult. It's not really a cult. It's not a cult.
Yeah.
I'm joking. But it's a secret club.
It really was.
You can't buy this membership.
Not at the time, I don't believe.
And they gave you an actual physical card, which I think is fucking sweet. And then you have free access to shows.
Basically, buy 2-for-1 ticket days. They have show.
So you're not just hanging out at punk shows either, probably.
Right.
Knowing your story now and understanding you as an appreciator of all things music.
Right. So when Iggy Pop comes to town, you're going to see Iggy Pop.
But you're also probably going to see any cool local band, any underground pop band. It doesn't matter, because you mentioned Devo, you mentioned Elvis, you mentioned all these people. So you're into all music. So you start hanging out there truly regularly.
Right. So right around the time.
But you're really into punk.
Well, yeah, because during this time, Husker Du, the Replacements right now, before '82, they're developing their stuff here. So they're the local bands. Otto's Chemical Lounge, the Phones, all these guys at this time, these are, the Flaming O's. These guys are all doing this stuff. Flaming O's aren't punk, but
And you look like a punk rocker at this time, right?
I have my nose. I have a nose. I've had my nose pierced since 19.
And you got a mohawk.
83.
I assume a mohawk.
From 82 to 87, I had a mohawk, and from 87 to I can't remember. I had like a Billy Idol spike, because I got 86 from First Avenue, and then I got back in. So I changed my look, and that's how I got back in, and then apologizing.
Explain that story.
Rewind. Yeah, red line. Explain that story. Yeah.
Don't skip that one.
I got many, man. Well,
okay.
Long story short.
So you get kicked out of First Avenue how?
Breaking a bottle on the ground.
Okay.
In the club.
Simple.
Yep.
Okay. And
but I'm not
change
going.
Your look.
But I'm not going. Okay. I go back in after I got kicked out that day, and they throw me out again, and I go back in through another way, and finally the 86. So I changed my look because Ministry's coming 2 weeks after I got kicked out, and I have tickets already. I have to go.
Right.
Have to go. So this is right around late.
I almost
87.
had a chance to open for those guys.
Oh, that'd be hot, man. So I love Ministry. So I got to go. So I cut my hair off and had like a Billy Idol spike. I went back, and the guy that kicked me out said, "Hey," he's like, "Aren't you 86th?" And I said, "No, I don't believe so."
Must have been my brother.
No, it's even better. It's like, no. He's like, no. I'm pretty sure 86. I'm like, no, you probably got me confused with somebody else. And he steps back and he looks me up and down. And he looks down, and I have a pair of knee-high boots, engineer knee-high boots. And he looks down, he looks at the boots. He's like, "No, I'll never forget those boots. I 86 you." I was like, "Well, you really must have me confused with somebody else. And lots of people have knee-high engineer boots." I said, "But I don't do that kind of crap. But if I did, I'd apologize to you." So, but I don't do that. So I apologized to him in this really weird third way about it. And he let me stay.
No shit.
No shit. And that was it. Because I did. And the reason he didn't forget the boot, because I went to kick him in the nuts, and I missed. And the bottom of my face, I think, maybe touched the very tip of his nose. I mean, the bottom of my boot touched the very tip of his nose, because I missed with such ferocity when I was going to kick him in the nuts that my kick went right to his face. But it didn't hit him. But he was right. They were the boots. And, I apologize.
Wow.
That was a stupid evening fueled by drink and, female tennis ball.
So you're fucking hanging out. You're a regular. You're probably going to all the shows, not just the punk rock, but you're fucking like you're probably at that time one of very few like true punkers in this town.
There was a lot of us,
So
a lot
how
of
the
them moved
fuck-
about and stuff like that. We just lost one of the icons of the city, Bob Murderer. Bobby was been in the punk rock scene from coast to coast and wound up here, and he's been here for the last of his life. He was just 57. He just passed a couple of weeks ago, and he's an icon.
So how the fuck do you end up in a punk band? When
Well-
do you make that decision? When do you go, this is something I want to do? Or were you asked and invited?
No. I met Joe Strummer in 1999, and I partied with him all
For
night
people
long.
that don't know, explain who
Joe Strummer, the lead singer of the Clash, frontman of the Clash, one original first wave punk band, went on to front the Mescaleros. So he came through in '99 with the Mescaleros at Prince's Club, and we were there. And after the show, the girl I was dating got back, and then I knew somebody in the Pie Tasters that opened for him, and I said, "Hey, is she there?" He's like, "Yeah, come with me." So I go there. I walk around the corner in the green room, and there's the girl I'm dating, sitting on Joe Strummer's lap, and he looks at me. He's like, "Oh, this your girl, mate?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Wonderful, take out a Boston Shaker." And I'm like, "You're fucking Joe Strummer. Do whatever you want to do. I don't own her.
I murdered that man at that point.
Can I be next?"
My question is, do you ever want to sleep in the same house as me again, woman? And then, do you want to die tonight, Joe Strummer?
Yeah.
Then yes, go ahead and fuck.
But for me, man, that was, that's like, you want to put that feather in your hat and call it macaroni, go ahead. Why? Well,
Yeah,
we've all
my
cheated.
approach is literally, do you want to die tonight?
Right?
Backstage.
Ask me again. Well, first of all,
What happens in the green room stays in the green room.
Here's the thing: is as soon as I see my girl sitting on another dude's lap backstage, we're done. So that's already happened. As soon as I walk in the room, she just doesn't know it yet.
Yeah.
But this is my moment,
right?
So like, I'm asking. I don't care who you are. Like, did you just ask if you can fuck my girl?
Yeah, he did.
Like, dude.
But it's Joe Strummer, dude. He's an icon for me. He's
cool.
He's like
James
he's like
Hetfield could ask me.
Who would it take? Yeah, that's
James Hetfield could ask me, and I go, "Cool, James. So you want to fuck my girl? Awesome question. Let me ask you a question. Do you want to die tonight? Like, dude, because this shit ain't
that's
happening."
That's an appropriate response.
You got one end of the spectrum, and you got the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I'm on the far end of pick your spectrum.
Way in between.
Right. So it was a great night. He wanted to go see.
You made a friend.
Yeah, I did.
You made a network connection.
I did. I actually walked away with his address.
You whored out your girl.
Yeah.
And you got some music contracts.
Pimpin' ain't easy.
Pimpin' ain't easy. So I got his address. I got his phone number. I got a personal invite to come and visit him anytime when I was in London and Yarborough. And then he died because I met him in '99 and he died in '02. So
fucking your girl.
Yep.
That's
so I was
why he
throwing
died.
I threw a party. I threw a huge tribute at the Turf Club in the beginning of 2003 for his death. And I invited all the bands in the city, Dillinger 4, the Soviets, everybody played 2 or 3 or 4 songs, nobody repeating a song. And literally it was a sold-out show. Over 700 people were at the show. There was lines down the block to get in around for this thing that we threw. And I got my band on there. But this is 2003, and I don't have a band yet.
I just can't get past this whole, like, dude, did you just ask me if you want to fuck my girl? Like,
dude, it's rock and roll.
Do you want to die tonight, bro? I can't move on. Yeah. I'm still stuck on this. Like, dude, I'm ready to kill a man.
Like I said, man,
what the fuck did you just say to me?
We weren't married, and I don't own her, and he's Joe Strummer,
Right. But that's the thing. Here's the thing: is like, I don't know if I actually say that in real life. Is what I really think.
Yeah.
I say it because I've actually been put in a similar spot, but not with a rock star.
Right.
With a girl I was just sort of dating.
Sure.
And she asked me, she's like, so would you be mad if I fucked him? And I was like, you're a grown-ass woman. You can do whatever the fuck you want. And is what she didn't realize is by asking me that question, we just broke up.
Right.
Like, so you're thinking about fucking this dude.
Yeah.
And you want to know if it's cool, which means we just broke up because you're already thinking about fucking other dudes.
Right.
She tried to spin that on me and tried to say, well, all I wanted you to say was no, and then I wouldn't have done it. But since you said no, I don't think I want to be with you.
Right.
And I'm like, no, bitch, you don't understand. Like, you're a grown woman. You can do whatever you want.
Right.
But as soon as you start talking about fucking other dudes,
you brought it up.
We're done. Right. We're done. So that's probably what I say is like, she's a grown-ass woman. She can do whatever she wants. But then here's the point.
Right.
I'm not fucking man enough to hang out, bro. I'm leaving. I'm done. And when she comes home acting like nothing happened, I'm like, no, your shit's outside. What are you talking about? You said I could do whatever I want. Bitch, you can. But you can do whatever you want from out there.
Right.
Well, that's just to determine the level of the relationship.
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
Or how or just dating me.
Well,
Nope.
Sounds like we're having a flashback. We better move on to the next subject.
The funniest thing is my little version was like the least serious thing I've ever done in my life. Like I was dating that girl for like 3 to 6 weeks, and I was like, no, go do whatever you want. But like, if that's what we're doing, like, I'm not into this.
Right.
Yeah, it's just hilarious. But you meet this dude, you get a bunch of great connections for it. I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep laughing.
No, it's all good, man.
Like,
it's all good.
I'm
it's
sorry,
a long
dude,
time
but
ago.
This dude fucked your girl, man. Like, I'm sorry.
But he didn't.
Where I come from, that's like, I don't know, dude. It's gonna be real hard to fucking have a straightforward conversation from here on out, man.
That's how you work through an uncomfortable moment.
I don't know, man.
Well, he didn't. So basically, what happened then is that he wanted to go to the 400 bar and listen to Lifter Puller, and Lifter Puller was playing that night. So
one of the greatest band names of all time.
Yep. And so Strummer wanted to go see these guys. So I had a secret parking spot. I used to have them all over Minneapolis back in the day. And freaking tour bus parked my car in. So I couldn't, I was going to give the Pie Tasters guys a ride over in my car. And that didn't happen. So what ended up happening is I ended up having to jump into a van with Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day and his wife, Adeline, Strummer. And I don't remember his guitar player's name.
Lives in Northeast.
Yep. His guitar player.
Right up the road.
My girlfriend at the time, me, and then I believe, I'm not sure which writer for the City Page it was. It might have been Chris, who works for the Star and Tribune, but I can't remember. It's been so long. So we rode. We rode over to the 400 bar. Joe Strummer paid for everybody that was in the green room to get in to the 400 bar, and we stood right next to the stage, and Joe watched it, and we talked, and Armstrong was there, so was Armstrong and his wife.
And this is all before you're a musician?
Yeah, before I was a musician, before I was in a band.
He was a producer first.
Crazy. Well,
So
not yet.
So then, we're talking.
He's
and
just a
stuff,
regular. He's just a dude who
I'm just
hangs
a
out
guy-
at shows.
I'm a guy in the pit. I'm a guy who goes to see shows. I'm not in the band.
I've made friends with people like this, so I know exactly what he's talking about. People that are just literally at every show, and after a while, finally you strike up a conversation. You're like, so what band are you in? And they're like, I'm not in a band.
Right.
And you're like, wait, what? You're at every show. The only people that are at every show are other musicians. And they're like, nope, I'm just a super big fan of all you guys.
Right.
And you're like, okay, dude, fine. This is awesome. What's your name? And you get to know these people. And then you go hang out with them. Like, I have friends from the music industry that were never involved with the music industry.
Right.
They were just such big fans that I seen them everywhere. And eventually I was like, dude, okay, who are you? What band are you in? I'm not in a band. Cool.
Right.
Okay. Who are you? My name's Paul. Okay, Paul. It's nice to meet you. Like, why are you so supportive? And then you strike up a genuine conversation.
Right.
And then these people are so cool. And you see them at every party, too. It's not like you're suddenly the guy. Like, they're already there at every party.
Right.
So I get this. I understand this because I'm the musician and I've got friends like you. And I've also seen certain dudes randomly pick up instruments and suddenly 5 years later, they're in one of the bands.
Right. That happens. I mean, when you find something that really moves you, it grabs you, and it's hard to let it go. But it does happen, I mean, I hung up my leather jacket in punk rock for about 5 years because I got disillusioned with the whole scene and everything. And then all of a sudden one day I was opened my closet door.
All before you're in a band.
All before I was in a band.
Okay, Jesus Christ.
Dude,
this is insane. Well, how do you get it disillusioned with the whole scene when you're not even in a band? Like, how are you so heavily involved with the politics of a scene when you're not even in the scene? And so much so that you hang up your leather jacket in protest of this. Oh, my God, dude. You have to explain this. This is ridiculous.
Things happen, man. Just the way shit happens as you're growing in life, for me, I come from the old world of punk rock in the pit, where the circle pit shit was not anything we did. It was truly slam dancing. You didn't do it to hurt anybody, and it wasn't like the hardcore guys that do like the fake fighting with the real violent moves.
Oh, the fight dancing, the hardcore kids.
Right.
The hardcore kids. Worst. The worst guys to have in a pit, because then all of a sudden you get a hardcore kid that wants to be like for real, and he actually starts hurting people.
Right.
Like, I cannot tell you how many legitimate fist fights I've been at local shows and had to grapple dudes or restrain them because they're running around and elbowing people, or like specifically women. Like, dude, if you're dumb enough to stand next to the pit, you're supposed to stand there like this and push people back into it.
And not let people fall down.
But
pick them up off the ground when they do.
If you're an asshole mosher and you're jumping into the edge and swinging, trying to fuck people up who are like 3 people in, and you're starting to hit and fuck up chicks, or you're like the guy who decides to go against the grain in the mosh pit and start swinging on people and fucking other moshers up.
Right.
Dude, I'm grabbing you by the throat and pulling you out.
Oh, like, I've seen lots of that in many of the pits.
I've done that. There's friends of mine and witnesses that'll tell you.
Don't get me wrong, hanging my leather jacket up just meant that I was disillusioned with our local punk rock scene. Didn't mean I stopped listening to music or going to shows. I just stopped pigeonholing myself in it.
You thought it was what? You thought the scene was dead or what?
Well, it did die, and there was even through the second wave, a second wave, it kind of did die. It was wayward, and for me, it's like I said.
So you didn't hang up the jacket in protest. You hung it up.
No, I just hung it up because it got disillusioned. It no longer touched me like it touched me when I found it.
Got you. Okay.
That thing that made me want to be in it. That thing that when I go see a show, there's one of two things when I was young, when I went to a show. The music had to do 2 things to me. One, reach me and grab me. After it grabbed me, I never left the pit. I couldn't tell you what show I saw, couldn't tell you what band played. I got lost in the pit because I was letting out this explosive, pent-up energy that I had inside me that needed to get out, and I didn't do it to hurt people. I wore my leather jacket always in the pit until I couldn't wear it, and then it would get soaking wet. I mean, it weighs 60 pounds, and there was always this girl, and I would give it to this girl. And we never dated, but she always held my soaking wet leather jacket, Molly, and always. And then I would go back to pit with my wrist cuffs that had 3 rows of spikes on them and studs in my tank top, and then I would just continue to unleash, and I'd just be lost in all shows. I mean, back in '84, I pulled Henry Rollins shorts down on main stage, First Avenue, with Noel Morgan, a good buddy of mine, standing right next to me, after we were in the movie That Was Then, This Is Now, that was filmed in St. Paul. So, it's
grab me a beer out of the
crazy stuff. So you're in the world of punk rock, man. And so
you're doing these crazy party, you're backstage, you're hanging out with these dudes, you're doing all this crazy shit, and then you end up at the 400 bar to play catch up back to where you were. Okay, boom.
Yeah.
Is this your aha moment where is somebody going, hey, you should be in a band?
This is not the aha moment. Mike Subversives from the Subversives told me several times. My good friend Kevin Carroll died. I sang a song on stage, the entry for his band when he died in 2001. People said I should have been in a band, but I don't play an instrument, and nobody. How do you get a band when nobody knows who you are or what you can do talent-wise? So it came.
I mean, you don't even know what you can do talent-wise.
Right. Who you get? Who do you get? Who do you get to invest in you to come and do a practice? How do you do that
when you haven't even done it yourself?
Right.
You haven't even invested any time in yourself.
Right. So,
but somebody proposed the idea to you.
Mike Subversives was one of the first people, and then somebody at the show we did it for Kevin Carroll when the Squabs released their only CD after Kevin died 3 days before it was supposed to be released.
How do you initially react to that idea when somebody goes, "Well, why aren't you in a band?" You should be in a band.
Well, the reaction is, well, how does a guy who doesn't play an instrument or do anything get in a band?
And then somebody says you sing.
Right. Well,
or be the manager.
Right.
Well, that you're not really in the band.
But you know, I don't know any of that crap. So don't get disillusioned. So don't get the manager's not in the band.
Bobby the Brain.
You're not in the band.
Differently.
You're not in the band. You help run the business. You work for the band.
Bobby the Brain.
Managers are not band members.
He would.
Managers are not member.
They certainly take a big enough cut, don't they?
Producers are not band members.
All right, sorry. Keep going.
So basically,
that's great though, because that's a thing.
So then after the show,
I'm basically like the sixth band. No, you're not. You're an employee, and you're a vital, intricate part of making sure this machine runs. You might even say that you're the driver of the vehicle as the manager, but you're not.
Are we having another flashback over there? Were you a co-manager drummer at some point in time, and then the two personalities got into an argument with each other?
I'm also
and nobody won.
And I'm also rewatching a bunch of VH1 Behind the Musics in my head right now as we have this discussion, and I'm going, no, we're clarifying this right now.
All right. I'm going to let you have that one.
It's hilarious. So basically the show ends. We go down to the green room underneath the 400 bar, and we all sit around and we talk to Joe Strummer. And I talk to Joe Strummer until it's 5 a.m. All right. And then his manager comes down and said, Joe, we got to get on the bus and go because we're coming over to my house. I was going to give Joe a dinosaur theropod tooth. And so we were going to go to my house. And but they had to get to the next city, and they had to go, so he couldn't do it. And so then he died.
Wow.
So when he died, I put the show on.
That's where you became the producer, when you put that show together.
Right. But you see, before that, I've always had this band name, Virgin Whores. And I came up with it way back in I think it was 85 when I worked at Rosedale Dayton's.
Which is like the best shitty punk rock name quite possibly out there.
I love it.
The Virgin Whores, it's gotta be
the oxymoron.
It's gotta be the worst band name of all time, which makes it the best punk rock name of all time. You understand what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
You understand what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like anybody who doesn't understand punk rock goes, did he really just insult him to his face? No, that's not an insult. Like literally great punk rock band names are terrible actual band names. Does that make any sense to anyone other than you?
No, I don't know.
I hope so. Does it make sense to you? Like, it's supposed to be like that. Like, it's supposed to be something that when you hear it, you go, that's a punk rock band.
Right.
Like, when you hear Virgin Whores, you should know immediately it's a punk rock band. That's the point of a great punk rock. The better punk rock band name you have, the easier it is to know you're a punk rock band. Does that make sense?
Yeah, to me, yeah, totally. So basically, I had this band name, and like I was in this restaurant in the department store that I worked in the 80s through the 90s and into up to 2000, and this guy by the name of Jason Lund, who is a barber in the city here, was a cook, and he came out and he's talking to me, and I was telling him about my band name, and like 85 Virgin Whores, and then the next time I was up there having lunch, he's like, hey, I made something for you. And so like later on, he made the first Virgin Whore T-shirt for us, and it's a big cherry, a big cherry with Virgin Whores around the cherry, and that's the first logo that we used, and I still have that T-shirt to this day. And so I put my fake band to open up the show, the tribute show, so it was a fake band at this time. I didn't even have any members. So
classic punk rock move.
But you're
right?
on the bill.
I'm on the bill. We're opening the whole show. It's sold out. 750 people with people waiting to get in. But I don't have a band. Guy went out and got 5 guys to be my band, and we were going to pull that Sex Pistol.
This is the epitome of punk rock.
This story is. It is. It kind of is.
Well, and this show, the way you did this,
right,
the way you got into it,
right,
the way you threw this thing together,
right,
just the sheer arrogance of doing this. I'm going to book my own fake band to open a show,
yep,
and I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yep.
This is the ultimate epitome of actual real-world punk rock.
Right
God
on.
damn,
Well,
I love my podcast. God damn, I love my podcast.
I had a girl. This girl I was dating at the time knew how much Joe
I
Stummer
gotta
meant to
piss.
me.
You guys
that
keep
she
going.
helped put the show on. So I get my fake
Keep
band.
telling the story. I can
Yep.
hear you. I'm going to be right there.
So I go out and I get 4 other members to be in my fake band. None of them play any instruments.
Just remember your camera's right here,
And-
so you can pay attention. But just also
Right,
remember
right.
this is where people are watching you from.
Right. So there's nobody's in a band in the guys that go out and get to be in my band on this show that happens in 2003. And, everyone agrees. So we're going to do this Sex Pistol thing, where they come out and they're like, and Johnny Rod says, you ever feel like you've been cheated? And then they leave. So we were just going to do that same thing, throw the instruments down, and that was the show was going to start from there. So I'm sitting at the Triple Rock, and a good friend of mine just showed up, Tyler Kukowski. He's actually the bass player in my band, Ty Bourbon, and he's sitting next to me. And this is way before we were in a band, and I'm telling him because I'm just depressed, and I'm just sitting here because here's this opportunity to I've got the name, I got these guys, but none of us know anything. It's only 2 or 3 songs, not difficult. I wouldn't imagine. I mean, I've never did it, so I really didn't know. And I'm telling Ty about it all. And Ty turns to me, and I'm done in the conversation, and my head is hanging, and he goes, you do know, Jimmy, that I have a band, right? And I looked at him, and I said, no. He's like, yeah, Modern Day Tragedy. And I was like, what? He's like, we have practice tonight. Why don't you come on down to the practice studio around 7, and he told me where it was at. And he's like, well, we'll talk to the guys in the band and see if we'll back you for the show. So this is just a couple of weeks before the show is going to go off. My friend Ty tells me he's got a band and that come on down. So I go down and his band says, we'll back you. So I go from having 5 guys to be in a band to going to a 3-piece power pop punk band, and that I am the 4th person. And when I step on stage with them, they no longer are Modern Day Tragedy. They become Virgin Horrors for the show. And we went out and did it. We opened up the show. We sang a couple songs, and then we were really drunk, and D4 dropped off the bill. So there was a little lull in the action, and there was a break. So there was a first half of the show, second, because there was a lot of bands. So Wasted, we got to play a second set in that sold-out show in the middle during the break.
Bonus.
All right, exactly. So that was the first show of the Virgin Horrors. We played our first show ever to Turf Club, sold out, packed room, unbelievable. Ty's band, Modern Day Tragedy, backs me, and from there we just never stopped. It never stopped. We learned a couple covers to begin with.
You're like the Bert Kreischer of punk rock.
4 albums later.
You're literally
Many.
you're like the Bert Kreischer of punk rock. You fucking you didn't trip or stumble. You like sidestepped your way just into this insane life.
It is.
From just probably being an awesome dude who's fun to hang out with.
Thank you.
I mean, that's got to be it, because you flat out said over and over again, like, you didn't have any desire to be in a band. You didn't set out to do this.
Nope.
You didn't. Like, this is just such a fucking bizarre, unique story. Does anybody have the rights to this? Like,
we do.
Like, we got to write a movie about
we
this.
do.
We got to write a movie about this, or a TV show. You know what? We should write a TV show. I know a little bit of writing.
Yeah.
I can write some dialogue. I
Right
know a
on.
few cats.
Tell us to shoot it.
Well,
Let's write a TV show. Let's fucking you're gonna cameo in it, obviously.
True stories of punk rock.
You're gonna cameo in it, obviously. You'll cameo, obviously. You have to have like a heavy reoccurring cameo too.
Yeah.
We can't just pull like a Stan Lee and you show up once in the 3rd episode. Like, no, you gotta pop in and like you're gonna be. You know what, dude? We'll make you like the homeless guy outside the club that you walk up every episode and ask for money and then say it's for a different thing. Like, you never ask for you never
It's
ask
never
for
the
money
same
the
thing
same
twice.
reason twice. Yeah. And it's and it just gets more and more obscure. Like Like one episode, I'm saving up for an elephant. Like the next episode, you just need a cheeseburger. The next episode, you're late on your car payment. It's like, wait a minute, I thought you were homeless. You know what I mean? It's just a running gag throughout the entire thing.
Right.
But we just make the whole thing. Dude,
I
we'll
see
shoot
the
the
humor
pilot.
in it.
We'll shoot the pilot. And I think we can get Netflix to buy it because they'll buy just about fucking anything nowadays.
They'll buy at least 12 shows.
They'll buy fucking just about anything. I'm guaranteed we can get 10 to 12 shows, one season. I'm convinced. You're good at this. Let's set up some financing for the pilot. I'll seriously write it. It will be hilarious. Right. It'll be like Crashing, but on the punk rock music scene. We'll base it in the 1980s, even though technically you jumped in a little later.
Yeah.
We'll bump it back. We'll do it a little because everybody loves the 80s nostalgia of everything. And we'll plan somewhere between 4 and 10 seasons that will take us through the entire decade into the 90s, and we'll just wrap it up at the 90s with some cliche ending. It'll be great. Right. All right, $1 million idea. Anybody watching this, you're contractually obligated not to steal my idea. And if you do steal my idea, because this is live on the internet, time-stamped and everything, this is modern-day post office, you're already being sued for stealing my idea.
That's right.
There it is.
This shit is the sole proprietorship of the Jared Singer Extravaganza. Any unauthorized reuse or rebroadcast will, without express written consent. You guys can tell I've watched a lot of football games, haven't you?
Well, you just mentioned something that's really important that people should know, that if you write anything, you can electronically send it to yourself in your email, and then it's time-stamped and you do own it. Otherwise, write it down.
That doesn't hold up in court anymore.
Put it in an envelope.
That's not a thing anymore.
You can't put an envelope in it?
Don't do this. Nope.
You can't mail an envelope to yourself and not open it?
You can, but it is not considered legal proof anymore.
Really?
Yes, because it's not proof you didn't already steal that idea and then mail it to yourself.
If you come up with something and I've already mailed it to myself, it says that my date and time that I've done it.
It doesn't hold up anymore.
Really?
I'm just telling you. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, but trust me, I know.
I just had an industry guy tell me to do that.
Yeah, that's an old school thing. That is true, and that was true for a very long time.
Well, when you're nobody like us, then you could do it because it's still going to hold up.
Now is what you do.
Our shit.
Now it's super easy. Like anything I upload on this podcast right now on YouTube is immediately mine.
Right.
Like when you do it, there's a box you check: standard YouTube licensing or common use.
Right.
And as long as you do standard YouTube licensing, you own that content there on forever in perpetuity as your own entity. And I have to give somebody permission to use this podcast or a clip of it and monetize it. Right.
Right.
Like that's.
Well, I think
that's why YouTube's still the shit.
What's cool is
why YouTube's still the shit.
YouTube.
We actually just uploaded a lyric video.
Speaking of,
on YouTube.
This is why we're not going to play the audio side of it, because I will get demonetized for it. So we're gonna play this video. We talked about this before the podcast. Yep. You guys aren't gonna hear it, but I'm gonna share the screen so you can see the video. More importantly, if you guys want to, you should be able to just pause this podcast. And in fact, if you can't right now, hold on. Let me just double check the settings. It's this silly little button somewhere. Oh, wait, it's over here. Sorry, guys. This is why we need a producer. This is why you guys got to join the Patreon.
We'll be working behind the scenes.
Okay, so yes, you guys should be able to pause this. And so once you see it on the screen, you'll be able to go grab it, listen to it, or even open up another browser, listen to it side by side. Do whatever the fuck you want. Who gives a shit? Anyways, yeah, so that's good to go here. So we have to move this though, you guys. Otherwise it's gonna get wonky because I don't need to share all that. Give me a second here.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. Yes, so it's
that's why we need a producer.
There's a long process. So the Joe Strummer, that story, so hanging out, he dies. Now we figured out that we throw the show. Now we're flying by the seat of our pants, dude, and we put out our first album, Virgin Whore. Yeah, it's 5-song EP on a CD.
So did what were they called before that?
Midnight, was it Midnight?
No.
Before Mescaleros?
No, so you were the Virgin Whores when you showed up.
Oh, Modern Day Tragedy.
Okay. Did they have a singer before you showed up?
Well, yeah, they did. There was a 3-piece band. So, the guitar player.
So dude just stepped aside and was like, "You take the mic."
Well, yeah, because
and now we're Virgin Horse.
Right.
So it went from a 3-piece to a 4-piece.
Right, and they still kept their band. So anytime that they played, and then when I stepped on, we became the Virgin Horse.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it really was. And we were, we weren't very good, but we wrote some really, clever and catchy things.
Played some good music.
Was it good music though? I mean, it is.
I think
punk
Dead
rock.
Soldier. There's a couple on our very first
I
CD.
brought
There's
him
some
on
good.
stage a couple times.
I'm just fucking with you. It's notoriously an inside joke in the music industry that punk rock is shitty music.
We do original stuff. It's all originally written.
I mean, you guys are the bass players of music genres.
I guess you could look at it that way. Maybe I know so many people might think those are fighting words.
You hear that, bass players? You hear that, bass players? Punk rockers are insulted when compared to you metaphorically. You gonna take that shit? Oh, that's fucking funny. Oh my God, that makes me laugh so hard. All right, so we are looking up your music video, and I'm back on YouTube on the correct screen.
Yep.
Oh,
you just go to Virgin Whores.
What's the name of the song?
Pissed at the Pub.
Pissed at the Pub?
Yep. It's an original Christmas song.
Very English of you.
Yeah.
All these words. Pissed and pub.
Yep.
Very English of you. You guys are so cultured. Is it this one here?
That's the top one right there.
I mean, this looks like it's your actual channel.
Yep, it is.
You guys have 1 subscriber.
We have just opened this channel yesterday.
Okay, well, I'm going to be
18 years of this name and no one claimed it. And it's ours now.
I'm going to subscribe right now.
All right.
Hold on, let me share the screen with everyone. Hold on. This should still all work. Yeah, there we go. Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to be sub number 2.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
So the viewers, you guys should go check it out.
Right. We just opened this yesterday.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, they got 1 video. We're going to play it. You guys won't be able to hear it. We're going to be able to hear it. But it will not come through for them, unfortunately.
So that's the name of the album coming out.
Last Chance to Dance.
Last Chance to Dance is the name of the album?
That's the name of the album.
Okay. So you guys can see everything. If you want, just pause it now and go listen to this, or cue them up side by side. You guys can see the timer where we're at if you want to try to sync it. I mean, we should keep talking because the listeners also can't hear it. But also just keep in mind, you guys, the listeners aren't hearing anything right now. So on the complete audio side, so we should still keep talking. Yep.
Right on. So what's going on here, James?
So this is our song, an original Christmas song that we wrote for cashing in on Christmas, but they didn't put it out that year. So it's on our upcoming album. It's the last track. This is just a lyric video that we put out. It's the first thing that we've ever done like this. So we're still learning. It's part of 2-Bit Productions, which was, if you saw in the beginning of the video, is a production company that we started to do stuff like this, because a lot of our friends' bands, for some reason, other guys and stuff come out and do things, videos for them. Nobody's ever stepped up and asked us, and haven't done it ourselves either. We've talked about it, never did it, and now we're doing this.
Oh, that's always special.
Yeah, right. It's so great. That happens right there at the guitar solo, man. It's brilliant. It's so freaking cool. We laughed and laughed and laughed when we put that together the other day, man. It was
I never not laugh at a good blowing.
Oh my God, it's so disgusting too.
A good hurl. I loved how Monty Python used to do that. And, they clearly see his spine.
Tubes,
yeah. Whoa, just
see, this is actually like really good. This is well produced.
Yeah.
This is like what I would consider to be pure, just straight up punk.
Yep.
There's no extras on it.
Nope.
Interesting.
Last Chance to Dance.
Very short song too.
I think here coming up, we're going to be releasing a 30-second a teaser video of our next video called "Tear It Down," and it's off our album coming out. As a matter of fact, I believe the record, the 7-inch I gave you, has that song "Tear It Down" on the back of it, and that's off of our album coming up. And that's a split with the Murphs. That was put together by a couple brewing factories, houses here in the city, Fulton and Jameson, I believe. Craig Dommel, I believe, was orchestrated that. So people who believed in us got us.
Kudos.
Yep, absolutely. People who believed in the Virgin Horse got us this, and after 18 years, we're getting some acolytes and stuff that I believe that we deserve. But it's not anything to deserve. It's about what you do.
How much touring have you done?
We've done a lot. We were on a tour in 2009. It was a 26-day tour with 1-day break. 2012, we went on another Southern and East Coast tour. Again, I think that was like 24 days with, I think, a 2-day break here and there. And then we've done lots of, regional tours, Live and Loud, Fuck You, We Rule in Tulsa. Live and Loud's a festival that rotates around from Chicago, Milwaukee, Minneapolis. Before that, we used to do like Midwest No Coast.
Outside of Corona, are you still doing it? Do you guys suddenly hear that echo?
Yep.
What the fuck? Where'd that come from?
Somewhere in the audio file, I think. But it's not me. I don't hear an echo on my end.
I don't.
It's yours.
Weird, right?
So you got the echo in your mic. So lots of little shows. Like I said, the Live and Loud, Fuck You, We Rule. We played out in Denver, lots of times down in Austin. We used to throw a show called Midwest No Coast Fest because we don't have a coast like East Coast, West Coast.
Right.
But that became kind of morphed and became Fuck You, We Rule down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That happens over the 4th of July weekend every year, which is a great festival if you want to go see bands that are up and coming. That's the place to go. Live and Loud is a great place to go see, those bands that are established, Old Firm Casuals and things like that. Just to mention a name that's established out there, and at Victory, another name who are local here in the cities, by the way.
Yep.
Okay. I think I fixed it. I think I figured out what it was. Just kind of a weird anomaly. So outside of COVID, were you guys still doing these tours up until recently?
We played March 13th of this year. And as you know, March 14th, everything was on lockdown. So we played, we played one of the last shows that was actually a live show you could see in the city of Minneapolis.
How punk rock is that?
Yeah, I got a great photo too, man. I wish you could put it up.
You just got dude. If you could have a fucking Boy Scout. If you could have a Boy Scout ribbon filled with badges of punk rockness, you'd have the whole thing filled up, dude.
I think
you've got all the punk rock badges.
We
were the first to do this. We were the last to do this. We fucking fucked off this. We fucked off that. We Jesus Christ, dude.
This is me that night of the show before I went on stage.
Nice. There's a dude that reminds me of. I'm not giving him a free club.
That way.
Yeah. I don't know if you can see this.
Hold on. No, they can't see it.
Never mind. Yeah. Anyways, so I've got a whole, we've got the shoes on. It's a hazmat suit with an East German gas mask on, and I came out and sang the first, I think, 2 songs completely in that outfit. Some dude in the crowd picked me up and put me on his shoulders. It was, it was kind of crazy. But it was the last show and one of the last shows in the city.
I mean, here's the thing is, like, I really don't like punk rock that much. Like, it's probably, honestly, my least favorite music. Like, especially out of the rock genres. But, like, I even like country music more than I like punk rock. But I will admit, there's certain punk rock where when it's just really well done, like, I get it. And I'm like, no, this is cool. I get it. And, like, I could hang out and I could listen to this. This could be on in the background and not annoy me. I could go to a concert and actually enjoy this. Like, all of the things.
Right.
You guys are legit. Like, you guys are a good band.
And
like punk rock or not, you guys are a good band. I can hear it in the production. If you guys are just tuning back in, I think some people are still listening because we lost a few viewers when we told them to go listen to that.
Right.
So I assume they're listening to that and coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll come back. But regardless, if you're still watching this now and haven't checked it out, go check it out. Listen to it. It's actually really good. and understand the evolution and the revolution of punk rock, because just that is an interesting story. So you combine that with your story. Right. I mean, you're a fucking fascinating human.
Yeah, that, you know.
So now we're kind of caught up to now-ish.
Kind of now-ish, yeah. I mean, there's so much more.
We just played the video, so people kind of understand the journey.
Right.
And you did some big things. I mean, you're going to come on again, dude. This isn't the first time, and it's not the only time you're going to be on here. So,
right on.
So we don't have to fucking blow the wad on every single thing tonight. I just wanted people to kind of understand who you are and what makes you tick. You know,
right.
And we've been going for already, what is it, an hour... almost 2 hours.
Oh, really?
So now we're back to kind of people that don't already know you.
Right.
And here's the thing, dude, is like, I'm in the music industry.
Right.
There's a bunch of people that know you that didn't know any of the shit you just said.
Right. I keep pretty much, I don't talk. I'm not afraid to talk about anything that's ever happened to me at all. But I don't unless I think you need to know.
And this helps because this just makes now any weird, irrational shit that comes out of your mouth going here forward. No matter what you say, people are going to at least understand where you're coming from.
Right.
So now I'm not giving you a free pass to say any wild shit, but at the same time, like, we're kind of caught up to current. So now we can kind of talk about whatever we want. And people at least understand who you are. I've had the luxury of already having a long conversation with you before tonight. So kind of, you know, it is what it is. But I wanted to go in depth a little bit more with some of those stories because it's like, man, we're getting to know each other over the phone. It's like, what the fuck, dude?
Right.
Like, this is a classic musician story.
It is. There's a Ty and I talk about it all the time. We've chronologized a lot of stuff that we've done in the Whores from the beginning to now. A lot of, oh my God, vans blowing up on the road, you know, being stuck in the middle of Hays County, Kansas with no way out, you know, and the van is shot. We got to be in Colorado tonight, you know, to play, you know. Dude, it was ridiculous, and what we did and how to get there, you know, and the realization because of things that I experienced through life and some of the other things I do, like paleontology on the side, you know, stuff I've learned. So our van's busted on the side of the road, you know, in the middle of Kansas, right outside of Hays. It's already been broke down. We broke down the night before. We got it repaired, right? And it's just not working right. We get 50 miles out, and the rod goes to the engine, and it's fucking dead, right? So we're at this right by an exit ramp. And we're trying to figure out what to do. Highway Patrol pulls up, right? And we're all blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, so we need to figure out. Ty gets on the phone, his girl back here. They find this U-Haul place back in Hays, you know, that's going to stay open. They're closed, but they're going to stay open for us until we get there to get a U-Haul. Meanwhile, I walked to a homestead way off the freeway and knocked at the door. You know, and mind you, I've got a fedora on. I got a Virgin Whore shirt on because I'm not afraid to self-promote my band because I'm not afraid. You know, I like my band. It's a good band. Some songs aren't. Some songs are really
It's not very punk rock of you, man. You just lost a badge.
That's all right, man. You know, so
you're one badge short of a full fleet.
So I knock on this door, dude, right? And the lady comes and I'm like, hey, you know, our van broke down out on the freeway here, and we need some help. And she's like, well, you know, why don't you call the Highway Patrol? I'm like, well, the Highway Patrol's out there. They can't do anything for us. We need assistance to get to a town somehow. She's like, well, I don't know what I can do for you. I'm like, is your husband home? And she's like, well, yeah. I'm like, could I talk to him? And this guy comes to the door, you know, and I tell him the story. And you got to mind, I'm in shorts, bondage belt, bracelets, hat. I'm punk rocked out, you know, and he couldn't get out the door fast enough. Got me in his truck. We went down there. He took the guys into town. Got us a U-Haul. Took a tow rope. Towed our broken van to the front of his yard. You know, we had to wait for the cops to leave because they didn't want us to ride in the back of the U-Haul van because, you know, you can't. It's illegal. Right. But it's the only way we get there. So
you can pull that all the way back to you, Sam.
Interim time, they're gone. The highway patrolman, after I got, you know, I'll call it, let's say his name is, you know, Willard. After Willard came and helped us, you know, they're gone. And I'm talking to the highway patrolman, you know, and I end up selling him, you know, $25 worth of merchandise, the whole time waiting for these guys to get back. You know, I
You
sell
can
him
move
a
it
T-shirt.
wherever you want.
I sell him a T-shirt. I sell him a CD, and I sell him buttons and stickers.
Well,
and he gets his whole package, and I come back and tell the guys, they're like, and it's a little story how I sold the highway patrolman shit on the side of the road because I could sell ice to a penguin.
That's funny.
So
That's funny.
that's my role. I'm the sales guy, you know, kind of director kind of thing. But I'm not the director kind of thing. We all are, because that's what it means to be in something that's more important than yourself.
Right.
It's not about
Bigger
it's
than
about
yourself.
the we.
Right.
You know, I'm not about me. I'm about us and we.
What's
That's
the
That's
sorry,
why
go
you've
ahead.
been rocking as long as you've been rocking.
Well,
with
I
the
think
same
so. I mean,
bands.
we're not a signed band, and we've been rocking for 18 years. We've had very minimal changeovers. We have 3, which I would consider 3 guys in the band right now, of a 5-piece that are, in my mind, original members.
Right.
They didn't, you know, one didn't start when we started as a 3-piece, and I stepped on the stage. You know, those guys are gone with the exception of Ty. Ty and I are the only bass ones, but our drummer, Ryan, he's an original member. You know, he started as a guitar player, and we had a drummer, and then he got cold feet first tour, and Ryan jumped on drums and learned it all in like 2 weeks because he's an amazing drummer. I think one of the best in the country. And we went, and we got another guitar player. He lives down Austin now. So we have a lot of original members. We only had a very small, in 18 years, a very small changeover. And like I say, 3 or 5 guys are original members.
Right.
So, you know,
Pretty fucking good, man.
yeah. So
There's a lot of big bands, like big bands that
Right.
don't even have that. In fact, I can only think of one group that has all the original members in it. And that's the Rolling Stones.
Still around today.
Yeah. And then I can only think of one other band where the real artist, I shouldn't say the real artist, that sounds shitty, but the known artist has had the same backing band his entire career, and that's Elton John.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Elton John has the exact same backing band he's had since day one. Maybe there's a couple new people because maybe somebody died.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I know for a fact he's added a lot of musicians.
Right.
And he's added a lot of sections. So when he's done certain performances, he's brought in a small like string section, but they weren't part of the band. Right. They were something that was hired to be on the record and then hired to perform live. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Right.
But yeah, Elton John, and then like I said, Rolling Stones. I believe Rolling Stones is the only act to ever not replace a musician and still be around.
Right.
As a viable
Like
band.
not just to the end of their career, like they're still around. So that actually makes it harder because like
Right.
their careers could have ended in 1992 and they'd still be the only band.
Right.
But now we just added almost 30 more years to that same career.
Right.
Like, holy fuck, think about that, you guys. There's like one of them in the entire existence of like known bands, one band.
Right.
So the fact that a underground, legendary, bootleg style punk rock band from Minneapolis is still rolling 3 deep.
Yeah.
And you've only had how many replacements of that position?
Yeah, not very many.
1 each? 2 each?
I think we've added a guitar player, and we've replaced the guitar player, I think, twice.
Okay.
So
you're on your third guitar player.
Yep.
And how many drummers?
Ryan's been the drummer since Ryan took the drums over from Billy.
So second drummer.
So Ryan's the third drummer because we had, and we've had some places. Ryan broke his neck, and so we got the guy who drums at Victory, Lance, drum for us for a little bit.
Oh, but he was a fill-in.
Yep.
Okay, so you've had 2 drummers.
Basically, yep.
3 guitar players total.
Yep.
And the rest of your originals.
Yep.
That's a big deal. All right, I got one more question for you before we move on.
All right.
This is the litmus test. You're going to prove you're going to be what's called constant data. So you've already been down the rabbit hole.
Right.
Okay. So you're just verifying it data I've already gotten.
Okay.
We have a test. How many of your band members' dicks have you seen? Not willingly. Not on purpose. At all. Ever.
Maybe 2.
Oh, you guys are fucked.
Yeah, maybe
You're
2.
fucked.
Oh.
You're fucked. The data shows the more band members' dicks you've seen,
Yeah.
the greater chance you have of surviving.
I've seen
the long
many
run.
band members' dicks, but not a lot of my band members' dicks.
That means you haven't spent enough time together.
Or I've just kept my eyes shielded.
You see where I'm going with this? You see where I'm going with this?
Staying out of this.
I don't know, man.
But do you see where I'm going with
I'm
this?
staying out of
18
this. No,
years,
I don't.
my 18
Jeremy
years
Blake,
together.
if you're watching this, you son of a bitch, you better back
Maybe
me
we
up
got
in the
a
comments
comment.
right
Maybe
now.
We got a comment up on the corner. No.
Delete.
That's somebody from earlier when we were talking about making the movie. Shout out to Refugio Morales. I do not know that man personally. He is a legitimate, actual, just straight up fan of the podcast. Shout out to Refugio. He's the man.
Peace and blessings, brother.
He's been a fan for a while. It tells me how long certain people have subscribed. If you're public, if you keep your subscriptions public, and I know that you subscribed, it'll tell me how long you've been subscribed. And he's kind of an OG. He's been here for a few months now.
We got to have him call in one time so we can talk to him.
We'll see. We'll see. It's not that kind of podcast.
You never know. It's like throwing out a little bone.
Here's what it is. No, I got a different thing for that. I'm now doing shorts on Monday and Friday. So it's 15, 20, 30 minutes. And that's where those guys can come in and I'll interact directly with them. Eventually, very quickly, that's being moved to just the Patreon side of things for people that actually support the podcast financially, but which neither one of you have done, I've noticed, by the way.
I'm a member.
You're not? No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not a patron.
I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
I know all.
Okay.
I'll figure it out because I don't.
Join. It's $3 a month, you guys.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I didn't join.
Yeah, of course you didn't. Are you sure you're just black and not Jewish?
No, yeah, I could be. Sammy Davis Jr.
That's right, man.
Yeah, man.
Pull that mic a little closer to you.
That's hip.
Yeah, man.
Hey, I can see you're a really out of sight cat, man.
Yeah,
and,
man.
Those are some really groovy chicks over there, man.
Groovy. All right. Yeah, man.
Sammy was a bad boy.
Sammy was a bad boy, man.
And he had the head bob. He was the first proponent of the head bob.
He's the first black man to sleep in the White House other than a servant.
Is that true? No shit.
Under what presidency?
Under
JFK.
I believe
it would have been
Yep.
JFK.
JFK during the
Kennedys
Camelot.
were buddies with Sinatra.
Yeah, I don't see
Camelot.
Nixon. I don't see Nixon.
No, not Nixon.
No,
under JFK.
It would have been JFK because
and he slept in the Lincoln bedroom, I believe.
And that makes sense because he was friends with Sinatra, who was involved with Madonna.
Well,
not Madonna. Marilyn Monroe. And the Brat Pack, that whole era with the mob and all of that shit.
But it was
because Jack
what's
was
his name was the guy was
bootlegger.
His name on
Dean Martin.
No. The connection to the Kennedys was the Joey Bishop.
Oh yeah, okay.
So those other guys didn't really have the connection.
Pack.
I think it was Joey Bishop that had the inside access to the Kennedys.
Dude, I met this woman named Jane McCormick.
Yeah.
Now, when I met her, she was old. Okay, and she's since passed. But dude, it was like this was also one of the motivations for starting this podcast. But this was like 10, 15 years ago, right?
Right.
My buddies run into her at a bar. Swear to God. My two friends just decide to go to the bar after work. I was off that day. I didn't even work that day. And they call me and they're like, dude, you have to come here right now and you have to hear this woman's story. So I'm like, oh my God, you guys, like, really? This better be worth it. Fuck it, I'm on my way. Just happen to not be doing nothing important. I get down there and she tells me the most amazing story I've ever heard. And it's about how she was in that crew. She was one of the hoes. She was a sex toy.
Yeah.
She was a walking, talking sex toy for Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis,
Joey Bishop, and then there's one
JFK, all of them. Like the whole crew, literally from the celebrities in the Brat Pack all the way through. Did I say the Brat Pack?
Yeah, you did say the Brat Pack.
That's an 80s thing.
Yeah.
I meant the Rat Pack. That's so funny. Literally with the celebrities in the Rat Pack, through the underground of the mob, up to JFK. She was a walking, talking sex toy. That's how she was treated. In the Old West, she would have been referred to as what did they call them? It's really crass, really fucked up. A cum dumpster.
Oh yeah, wow.
Like for real.
Yeah, right.
But she was gorgeous. I seen the photos. Like that's why I believe her story. Is because she showed me photos, and I was like, "Oh, I can see." And I
the
can
name
tell,
sounds familiar.
I
Jane
can
McCormick.
I can even see you aging in these photos. So this isn't just like one wild night or
Right.
summer where you happen to change outfits
Right.
a couple times. Like you went to one movie premiere
Right.
and wore 4 different. No.
You were a
I
pony.
can see you aging. I can see your hairstyle
Right.
change. All of it. It's
Right.
common sense.
Right.
I've seen so many photos. She tells me the fucking wildest story, and then eventually she writes a book. And then she passes.
Yeah.
And I got my hands on a copy of this book, dude, and it is word for word exactly the same story she told me that night.
Wow.
And it was crazy because she had some development where somebody had bought the rights to her story for a movie development deal, and it was in the works. Like it was in the works,
right?
And it never got made.
Because
But
somebody didn't want it to come out
somebody out
because
there
they
needs to
stepped on
finish
it.
that story.
Someone's on the list.
That's right.
Somebody else.
Because
Well,
I'll tell you,
just
Epstein didn't kill himself.
I mean, you got to find somebody like a Here's what I'm saying: is you would need to find somebody like a Margot Robbie, to step in and decide to play that character and tell that story from an incredible, like a literal fly on the wall perspective.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like almost do it like how. Did you guys see that De Niro movie on Netflix recently?
I don't think so.
The Irishman.
The Irishman. No, I didn't watch the Martin Scorsese.
It's a new take on the assassination of what's his fuck, Gotti. Was that his name?
Yep. Boss.
Well, he wasn't a boss, but he ran the unions.
Right. Oh, you mean Jimmy Hoffa?
Huh. That's who I meant. I meant Jimmy Hoffa. I meant Jimmy Hoffa. Yeah, because he wasn't a mob boss.
Jimmy Hoffa.
Jimmy Hoffa.
Yeah. Teamsters.
But the guy you said was a mob boss. Who'd you say? Gotti.
John Gotti. He died. He was in prison.
Sorry, I'm wrong. I was talking about who you said. Jimmy Hoffa.
Hoffa.
The Teamsters guy. It's just like it's an alternative version of the truth that who knows. Somebody could have written that memoir and leaked that, and that could be true.
What is the truth?
My point is if you took Jane's story and you told it from that perspective with somebody as compelling as a Margot Robbie, it would be one of the greatest films of all time. But if you try to tell it in any other way, it's like, this is fucking boring. Nobody gives a shit. This is some random chick who got fucked a lot. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a way to tell that story, and then there's a way not to do it.
Right.
But she passed, and it was just wild because some of the shit you just told me just reminded me of Jane. And I haven't told anybody about that. There's only 2 people on this earth that know about Jane and the interactions we had, and that's the 2 dudes that invited me.
That told you to come on down?
Cam and Mike.
Right.
And they're probably not watching this now, but if they ever end up watching this, shout out to them. We used to call ourselves the Tripod because it was the 3 of us.
Right.
And like I'm super obsessed with physics and geometry and all kinds of dumb shit. Even though I'm not very intelligent and I can't really understand it all, I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah.
So I'm obsessed with this idea that in physics, the tripod, when properly balanced, is the strongest physical structure in nature, right? And it's 3 posts.
Right.
When properly...
Right. Pending no earthquake.
Well, it's still more stable than a 4.
So now, are you also?
It is like even in an earthquake, a 3 post is still more stable than as long as it's built right.
Right.
Like your 3, the only way a tripod is less stable than any other structure is if it's improperly built. That's the point. That's physics. Right. It's pure physics.
So, are you into the latest concepts of what they're talking about in cutting edge, like quantum physics? About
I try to keep up.
And the whole thing that what they're talking about right now, that for example, the vast distance of space.
Okay, so
what physics is talking about is that doesn't exist.
Let me just say this. Here's what I don't believe, which is part of quantum physics is fucked up, right? Because quantum physics is broken up into many different interpretations.
Yeah, but what you're talking
it becomes
about.
religious at this point. So think of quantum physics like Christianity, and think of all the different theories that are presented as denominations. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So like they all believe in one thing, but different versions of what the truth is. That's now one of the biggest proponents out there is this idea of, it's called the many worlds theory, which is like every action and our interaction with every subatomic particle, meaning you, because you're just made up of trillions and trillions of subatomic particles. So every action creates a new diversion in time and space at an infinite and rapid level, to the point that there is so many versions of this and so many versions of you that there's an infinite number of Sams and an infinite number of yous and an infinite number of me's, that there's another version of the three of us having this exact having this exact conversation word for word.
Right.
Here's the problem I have with that. That's only looking at time as linear.
Right.
I don't believe time is linear.
And it's where they're going right now with it. That's why that's why those ideas are kind of falling the wayside.
And you just brought something else up.
Because they're talking about right now what they're seeing and what they're doing in these experiments is that they're taking, for example, two minute particles that aren't, that are smaller, like almost to the God particle, smaller than quarks. And what they're seeing is that these particles, for some reason, no matter how far apart they are, no matter what the distance is, if this particle does something, this particle...
That's called quantum entanglement.
But this is what they're talking about now. And it happens exactly the same time.
Right. Not you stimulate one and the other is observed thousands of miles away from each other instantaneously.
So what they're talking about is now that what we see and we perceive as, looking out and seeing, like, for example, right now you go up and look at the sky and you see Jupiter and Saturn up there, and if you've got a good binoculars, you can see a couple little Jupiter's moons, and so
just last night Jupiter and Saturn were perfectly aligned above the moon if you looked at it at the right time, because they were all in alignment for the first time in 800 years or some shit.
But we had gray skies.
Right. So, right in Minnesota we were fucked.
We were. So what they're saying is that take away the space because it doesn't exist, because if this particle is doing something and this particle is reacting to it 13 billion miles away exactly at the same time, that the space is an illusionary
hold on though.
A thing.
I don't think that's what they're saying.
No, I just watched Nova. I just watched this on Nova.
Sure, fine. But I don't they might be saying one thing, but that's not what they're saying.
I believe is what they're talking about. Einstein, Rosenberg,
the Rosenbridge theory, and the Einstein-Rosenbridge theory,
and there's a whole thing about it. And so they're talking about
it's the Einstein-Rosenbridge theory. Right. This is time travel shit here, and this
is what they're talking about. And now they're saying that time's not linear. Time is
this thing exactly. So both space and time are relative, and they're related.
Right.
However, they're not equal.
Right.
And they're not.
And they're not linear.
In and of themselves, not only are they not linear, but there's not a direct correlation for time versus space.
There's no forward or backward in time. So what they're saying here is that there's an infinite amount of universes in this space, and we are filling all those infinite spaces with ourselves. Now, right now, I just choked on the beer drink I took somewhere in the world because I feel it right here, right now. Not that I feel it. I just burped, and it sat there at the top of my esophagus. So just at that, maybe I choked on a beer in one of these infinite realities right now. Otherwise, everything in all of them goes just like this. Nothing out of the ordinary happens. So nothing out of the ordinary happens in any of it. It's all the same thing. Maybe that's why there's a space missing and we can't figure it out, because it's all about the space that's here. Take the space that's here, fill the space that's not, and there you have the space of all there is.
Okay, that was a lot. Okay, so
yeah, I don't know.
I understand what you're saying.
Right.
But there's a lot of people that are like, what the fuck just happened to this podcast?
Right. Well, it's like the idea of a God.
There was a big spike there.
Look at it. It dropped down to nothing.
Where's that? I don't even know what I'm looking at.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. This is what I know is that for me, if there's a God, there's only one of two ways in my mind. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or whatever. For me, there's only one of two ways. If there is, then it's outside the existence of our reality, which means there's something we don't see, and it doesn't give a shit about you or me. We didn't get made in its image.
Is there any left?
No image, no, whatever. Everything could believe in it in a unified thing. Or the whole universe is part of this thing and we're part of it, in which case then there's law and order. If something created it, wouldn't there be magic? Wouldn't there be this weird thing called quantum entanglement that seems so fucking far outlandish that how could it exist at 20 billion miles apart, but these things are acting exactly the same way at exactly the same time? Holy crap. So it kind of leads you to believe that there could be something of it. All I know from me, this is what I know from me, and I could go on and on and on about bad things and stuff happening, but the amount of shit that I've seen, amount of shit that I've been involved with and around me, there is no God.
Oh, there's definitely a God.
Well, for you, but not for me.
Oh, there's definitely a God.
So Trump just told Congress to rework.
Keep that closer to you. Keep that closer to you.
Trump just told Congress to rework the COVID bill.
Oh, really? So he vetoed it.
He's not going to sign it.
He vetoed it.
That's a joke.
No.
Nope.
Breaking news.
Dude, I read something. There was something super fucked up. Now, I have not actually verified this information, but I do trust the guy who posted it. I really do. He highlighted something. He's one of those guys that'll actually sit down and read the bill.
Yeah, that's a big bill.
5,200 pages. He highlighted something and posted it, and it said, in this bill of $900 billion, that $700 million was to be set aside. $700 million was to be set aside till the year 2022 to be spent in Sudan.
In this bill here?
In this bill.
Yeah, well, see, this is what we have to do.
I have not verified this.
If there's something like that in the bill.
Hold on. You do what you got to do.
Wow.
I'll take the mic for a second so you can do your thing.
Right.
Listen, is what I'm saying. I have not verified this information personally, but I trust the person who posted this. I have never been able to look at this person and the things they post and find them to be deceptive or misinformative.
Fake news.
Never. Now, he might every once in a while show a bias, but that is not the point of contention here. The point of contention is whether this person is historically accurate in the information they present forward.
Well, he should be able to show
And he did. He took a screenshot and he highlighted it and he posted it.
Right.
He didn't type it.
Right.
He didn't just say it. He fucking showed it.
Took a picture
so until I personally go through and load up the PDF, which apparently has crashed hundreds of computers in the Congress and Senate when people are trying to read it, until I personally do that, I cannot say this person is right or wrong. But I trust this guy. And it literally, in this bill, allegedly, of $900 billion, almost $1 billion of that, almost an eighth. Think about that.
Right.
Almost an eighth, which is 12.5%. Almost an eighth of that bill is directly allocated to be deferred until 2022 to be spent in Sudan. This was so important.
That'll get reshuffled somewhere else before 2022.
This was it actually specifically says it can't be. Like, it's specifically deferred and reserved to be allocated for X, Y, and Z. Here's my concern. This was worth how many people suffering? For how long?
How about
how much money? How much is the total bill worth?
I want to know who the fuck is getting paid that got that thrown in.
900
billion.
900 billion, but the
Israel
whole
there's another thing, but this one is 900 billion.
Right.
900 billion. So almost an eighth of that is for 2 years from now for another country.
Would it be nice
so
if
hold
the
on. Congress and Senate are saying Trump originally said $2,000 should be the stimulus payment, not $600.
That's what he's pushing for right now.
Right. That's what he said a while ago. Now, Congress, Republicans, okay,
Right.
Democrats, they're all fighting for their own versions of what is quote unquote right. However, let me calm down.
Right.
Is what I'm trying to explain. Somebody stalled this bill. Somebody we voted in. Maybe in Virginia, maybe in Iowa, maybe right here in Minnesota.
Maybe Wisconsin.
I don't know.
Right.
But I want to know.
Right.
I want to know who wasn't willing to vote for this bill until $700 million was dedicated to Sudan in 2022.
Right.
While motherfuckers I know are selling motorcycles and selling cars and selling boats so they can make their mortgage payment so they don't get evicted because our same government shut down the economy. And these people are complying and not reopening their... That's what makes me angry. This is why I don't run around and judge a bar owner for opening in Ely, Minnesota and going, you know what? I've had enough. I have to open my business. This is why.
Because you've done nothing for me to help me during a time and period that you said I can't be open.
And not only that, but not only that, and not only do that, not only all of those things you guys just mentioned, but when you do finally pass some shit that has been allegedly stalled and deferred, and you keep buying yourself time,
I'm getting nothing.
Almost $1 billion of our tax money is in this bill, not just in general, but you wouldn't let this bill go through until we included money for another country.
Until I get my pork barrel shit in here.
No, until we another country.
Right, I got to get my pork. I got to get my pork barrel spending.
2 years from now, not now, not going.
But
hey,
that wasn't the reason it was held up.
It was a reason one person wasn't willing to throw down until that got included.
You're going to need this vote for me to get this through.
This is what I'm getting at, Sam.
I need to have in there.
This is what I'm getting. It was one guy or
maybe
woman,
one
man or woman.
Could have been a group.
Well, of course, it's usually more than one, but you know what I mean.
Right? Yeah.
It's a small.
What its purpose was. Wonder what its purpose was.
But my problem is it wasn't going. Hey, Sudan's also suffering now, so let's get some. It's 2 years from now we're gonna fund a project. So if you're gonna help out Americans 2 years from now, you better help out this program that I got voted in for. Because if I don't fulfill my promise of Sudan and this money, $700 million, I'm gonna get voted out. And if I get voted out, I'm not voting for your bill. Go fuck yourself. Pass this fucking bill, and then we deal with the Sudan issue.
The problem is that I believe probably most of those senators and House people have already left D.C.
If this is true, by the way, I just went on a long rant.
This is where
this is all conditioning on if any of this is true.
Grandma had balls.
But that appropriation stuff like that happens all the time. These things that they put in they do this all the time to get
and
their
results
vote.
have been stalled regardless of what's real. They could have passed this exact bill 3 months ago.
Listen. Here's the truth of the issue.
That's politics.
Here's the truth.
That's
of the
why
issue.
people are disgusted by it.
And they didn't want it, and they were too far apart, way too far apart.
The truth of the issue is this: is when we're going to pass something of a nature like this that's supposed to help our society, our jobs, our people in our country. Do you want to know what? I don't want to have any of your pet projects that don't include or anything to do with our country into a bill. We have to change how these bills are formulated and made, and then what we can do. If you don't like it, you can't get my vote by putting in, I want $1.3 billion for the city of Cincinnati because I'm the senator from, Ohio. So, and so, if you want me to get this bill for all the people because we need this, then this is what I need you to do. That shit's got to change. And that's, the process is the problem, and the corruption comes from the process, the money, all this shit. So we can talk and talk and talk, but until we wake up and realize the process is broken, and Mitch McConnell has exposed that more than anything by not sitting a Supreme Court justice when Obama had his time and telling us that this is this is an election year, so we don't do this, and then ramrodding a person through in the same scenario. Now, I get it's your parties, but you know what? It's not about parties. It's not a game. You don't win. The American people loses when you get too conservative. One day we're going to have, if they overturn Roe versus Wade,
keep going. I got to go.
You're going to have we're going to go back to women crawling out of the alleys with blood coming out between their legs and hangers stuck there. Why? Because that's what we got away from for this. It may not be good for you, but it's good for us, the people. Right. Choice is good for us, the people. I have friends who talk about, well, I believe in America and hard work and in a capitalistic system. It's great. But you know what the capitalist system doesn't believe in? Doesn't believe in you, because it's all about slavery. It's all about control. It's all about the money. We've let this stuff take over something that was supposed to enrich our lives, enrich our society and community, and now we've let it take us and make us spokes in its wheel that anytime they want to get rid of and put a new one in, they can. And then our government passes shit like, I don't know exactly the bill, but it allows, to go out and get 56,000 people from around the world who are in high-end tech jobs. In each country you can apply for it, and each company, and we'll tell you how many you get. So like Disney went over and got a whole bunch of people from India,
right, to come over.
Paid them like $65,000 for these jobs that people were doing for $225,000 to $275,000. Fired them all, made them train these guys in for their replacements for the $65,000. That's fucked up. What? Like we were talking about earlier. Listen, you want to change it, you want to stop it, you want to make somebody's eyes open. Nobody go to work for fucking 2 weeks. Yeah, it's going to be hard. Really, it's not hard right now. Guess what? When they're not making money, they'll bend a knee. And that's the truth. Remember, it's not about their system. It's our system. It's not a democracy. It's a republic. We use these things, these ideologies to make our world better. All of it. That's why you can be a musician. That's why I'm a musician. You can't have liberty when you're having control. There's no liberty in it.
Well,
going from currency
what do
to
you
an
define
electronic
as liberty?
currency. Well, here's an aspect of liberty. Going from cash, coins, to something that's electronic, that seems convenient, but now I can track you anywhere you go, anything you do. Now I know what you've done. I mean, if you haven't watched Snowden, they know. So we're going to get rid of this thing that if I make this money and get paid with this substance, you don't get to track me unless somehow you put shit in it that tracks it. See what I'm saying? That's liberty. So if I go out and buy, let's say I wanted to go meet the cartel, and buy a goddamn ship of cocaine, a whole ship, with $3 billion. I couldn't do that with electronic money. They'd know instantly. If for example, I'm growing marijuana pot in my house and, the heating of things, and I'm paying electronically, I'm not paying in cash, not even with a check, paying in cash, but I'm doing electronic. They know what you're doing. There's no liberty there. Liberty is a freedom. You have a liberty. I have a liberty. I don't have the liberty to come over there and beat you. That would be an infringement on your liberty.
Let me throw this at you. This is how I define liberty. Liberty is freedom without fear. Okay? Because you can be free, but if you live in fear,
right, you don't have liberty.
That is not liberty.
Yep, you're correct. I would agree.
And that is why the founding fathers said, "Give me liberty or give me death."
If you're willing to trade your liberty and your freedoms away for safety and peace of mind,
well,
you don't deserve it.
Hold on, though. Let's back up, though. Let's back up to what you actually said first.
Yeah.
Before we go off the deep end.
Right.
What you said is, I can't spend money without them knowing I spent that money.
I can't spend electronic money without them knowing.
That means
money.
That means there's an element of fear there.
That's right.
Which means you're afraid to lose your anonymity.
Right.
Which is a protected constitutional right.
Right.
So when people talk about, and this is, for many people, these fears can transcend anywhere.
Right.
If you're worried about getting an abortion because the government now has the right to tell your doctor it's a felony for them not to report that.
Right.
There's fear.
That's right.
That's not liberty.
That's not.
Okay. Here's another version.
Infringement on your liberty.
Here's another version. All of a sudden, everyone's votes get counted into question. Right. And you have to come forward and claim your vote and go, nope, that's me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not liberty.
It's fear.
Especially because none of us here are bleeding heart Trump supporters. Not one of us here is a Trump guy. But here's my point. In context, right now, they've been talking about for the last couple of years, everyone that donated to Trump, we want them on a list, and we want to make that list public.
Yeah, no.
Here's why that's a terrible idea.
Right.
Because I could have donated $5 to that dude the moment he announced, not knowing anything. And don't worry, I didn't donate to Trump. I'm not like worried about you guys busting me out. Like, that's not what I'm getting at here. I'm saying for anyone.
Right.
They could have donated $5 to Trump when he first announced, not knowing anything that happened, and then never voted for him.
Right.
But they're on a list.
Right.
They're on a public list that anybody can now use against them.
Right. Who watches the Watchmen?
How disgusting is that?
It is. It's horrible. It's not liberty, and it's not the
That's
truth
my
and
point.
justice.
That's you
It's
just
not
said
what
it
our
again. You just said it
what
again.
our founding
But why
fathers
is it
wrote in
not?
that document.
Why is it not liberty? Because now you're afraid to support any potential financial candidate based on the fact that that's public information.
Right.
You're terrified to go give your money to the most, let's say you're donating to the JFK of your time,
Right.
or the Obama of your time, but the masses, the media at the time doesn't like him, paints him as the bad guy, decides anyone who donated to Obama is public information.
Right.
Well, guess what? Now you have white people and black people across the country literally waking up at 3 a.m.,
Right.
the witching hour, with burning crosses in their front lawn.
Right.
Race traitor for all the white people.
Right.
Today's not your day for all the black. Fuck that, dude.
Right. Right.
Like, this is the exact opposite of what we described
Right.
when we started America.
Right. Exactly.
And guess who's doing this? Guess who's pushing this idea? The left.
Yep.
So it's not just the Republicans that are tyrants.
Nope.
It's not just the Republicans that want to invade your privacy.
Nope.
The liberals, the left,
Yep.
and the Democrats are doing the exact same
Yep.
fucking thing.
They are.
Under
From
a
just
different justifiable reason.
From a different angle of view.
Yep. And it's everybody
Right.
is paving the road to hell with
Right.
good
The
intentions.
more I know, the more I can control you.
But I do know that I do know this, okay?
Tell
I do
me.
know
But
this.
you do know what I'm saying, though. Both
Absolutely.
sides think they're doing the right thing
Right.
to protect against
Right.
evil.
Right.
Okay,
But I do
we're
know
gonna
this.
invade your right to fucking medical privacy,
Right.
Because we're protecting against evil to make sure babies don't die. The
Right.
left, we're gonna protect it against potential evils like the Donald Trumps and the next Hitler by making sure that who you donate to financially is public invading
Right.
your privacy.
Right.
Same fucking problem.
Right.
Two different parties doing
Right.
the same thing
Right.
because they both think they're doing the right thing.
Right.
That is the epitome in my idea. Tell me if I'm wrong. Both of you are older than me. I'm 20 years younger than both of you. Tell me if I'm being a young, naive fucking moron. But this to me sounds like two political parties literally epitomizing the idea of the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Right.
Am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong.
Not wrong at all.
But this is what I
On
know.
one hand, we create issues.
Honor,
and on
I
the
rest
other
my
hand, We're
case.
there
Yep.
to resolve these issues.
Right.
That's
But
the
I
way we
do
see
know
it.
that one hand is doing things actively to destroy something that benefits the people who have a large portion of wealth that seems to be their friends. This is what I
the
know.
left.
This is what I know. Nixon, under the Fair Medical Act, rearranged free medical and made it private, as he did the pharmaceutical companies at
Correct.
that same time in 73.
And not only did he do that, but when he did it, he made for anybody that's confused, what I actually know a lot about this. So not only, and medical was never free, but is what he did.
I know.
Is what he
if you
did.
went to Ramsey or HCMMC,
It
those
was
were
never
state hospitals.
It was
you didn't
never
have to pay if you couldn't pay.
It was never free,
It
but
wasn't private.
is what it.
It was.
Here's what he did. Here's what he did, and he's on record of this. You can actually
Yeah.
fight because Nixon was so paranoid he recorded everything. I can almost quote him verbatim.
Thank God.
Somebody was suggesting to him a medical policy, and he said, "This isn't one of them government-funded social health care things like the communists have, right?" And the guy said, "No. In fact, this is the opposite. Insurers will actually make more money if they deny health coverage." And he goes, "Now that's an idea I like." And it was literally the birth of what we know as, which is something that's not allowed today under Obamacare. It's called the HMO,
Right.
which is literally insurance companies were incentivized financially to figure out reasons why you didn't deserve to be covered, no matter how much money you paid in. Whether it's a pre-existing health condition from 20 years ago because you said you had a yeast infection and they somehow want to try to pretend 20 years later they can tie that to your breast cancer,
Right.
or a guy that goes in because he got kicked in the nuts,
Right.
and then 30 years later when he's 40 and he's got a beautiful young wife and he's finally ready to start a family, and they don't want to cover the standardized fertility studies, and no, fuck you guys. This is arguably, other than being institutionalized, this is I think insurance is probably the grossest, darkest side of business. That way we don't keep treading on the same idea
Right.
of the darkest side of humanity.
Right. Well,
No, the darkest side of the darkest side of the free market is privatized insurance.
yeah.
And not just the idea of it, because the idea of it's actually really cool. It's their ability to tell you, no, we don't owe you shit.
Right.
That's what's fucked up. And guess what? The reason they have that ability It's not because they're evil. It's because there's been a million yous and a million me's that have fucked them over and committed insurance fraud.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
That's why.
Yeah.
It's because anytime somebody in society comes with a good idea that can actually help, somebody fucks that system
Right.
and creates paranoia and fear.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And then they turn around and they go, oh, now everyone's out to get me. Whether it's the banker or it's the insurance man. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like somebody gets fucked over. Think about when you were 15, 16 and you got your heart broke for the first time.
Yep.
First time you really felt it where a girl said something to you and it hit you in the face and you felt it travel down your esophagus into your stomach and then it grabbed onto your testicles and your balls disappeared with whatever that feeling was. They were just gone. Like it grabbed your balls, pulled them out of your asshole, and then floated away like a pigeon. The first time that happened, you never looked at the world the same.
No, you're right.
That's the most fucked up part about all of us, men and women, black, white, rich, poor. Nothing matters until you get your heart broken for the first time.
Until you experience it.
Sometimes it's a parent. Sometimes it's a girl. Most of us, if we're lucky, it was a girl, right? Most of the time, if we're lucky,
is that lucky?
Even
I don't know.
Even in your fucked up situation and my fucked up situation, my parents didn't break my heart for the first time.
Yeah.
I was born into a fucked up situation.
Yeah.
I never met my dad. My dad didn't have the opportunity to break my heart, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was still, even in a horrible, horrible situation, I was lucky enough to where the first time I knew what love was and the first time somebody ripped my heart out and brought it down through my stomach and then took my balls with my heart and ripped them out my asshole and left.
Yeah.
The first time that happened was a girl. For a lot of women, it was a guy. Yeah. It wasn't our parents. Even if we had fucked up parents, we were born into that fucked upness, so there was no brokenheartedness. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
That's what's amazing to me, is like you get your heart broken and suddenly your view on the world changes. Somebody out there does something fucked up, and then we as humans, whether you're an institution or a personal human, you make corrections. We instinctively put safeguards. We have adages for this. Shame on you, shame on me, right? Fool me once, fool me twice.
Right.
We're wisdomatically told, like, don't let people fuck you over more than once.
Right.
So then you have something like insurance or the government or all these other people, all these other institutions, whether it's a group or an individual, they create these great ideas and then somebody fucks it over and then immediately the safeguards go up. It's the human condition that it doesn't seem to matter where we're at with technology, where we're at with wealth, where we're at with wealth disparity. These themes, go back and look at the fucking Egyptians with the Jews, man.
Yeah.
Like, go back and look at fucking 200 years ago, 300 years ago, when the Europeans were grabbing slaves from fucking North Africa and bringing them to America. Like, Americans didn't go get those slaves. They were brought here. Like, people have been doing fucked up shit for a long time.
Right.
And it's always started off with a good idea. It's always started off with good intentions and a good idea of a way to make things cheaper or better or easier for you and me. And then we always seem to create another problem that haunts us for hundreds of years. Almost like the old adage of the sins of our forefathers, right? Like, a lot of people take that literally. I got a very close friend, Kevin. It's actually my roommate. I talk about him on the podcast a lot. He says that. He goes, I take that literally. Like, what your dad does wrong, you're going to pay for directly. And I go, I don't know, man. I think it's more metaphorical. And he's like, I'm telling you, the way they meant that shit is literal and direct. And I'm like, okay, cool. But maybe they meant it the wrong way. Maybe they were saying something that they didn't even know. They meant it as like a direct curse. I curse you and your son is going to pay for your mistakes. Maybe that's the way they understood it.
You cannot judge anything individually.
But I think we're dealing with this weird cycle where we don't learn anything as a people. We continue to come up with a good idea to help people. somebody fucks over that system, it gets gamed, and then they go, okay, we can't do this for everyone because people are greedy and blah 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 blah. So now we're going to monetize it.
Well, like where we're at today.
Exactly,
yeah.
Not only where we're at today, but with pick your topic.
That's the pitch.
Well, yeah.
Any topic, everything I just said applies to any topic.
Right. Here's the thing. Nothing should be set up to be able to monitor and make a gain off of unforeseen calamity, unforeseen accidents, unforeseen illnesses, whether they're pandemic or individual. All kinds, those things, that anything you have to go to the doctor for, other than that something you go because you have a checkup and you catch it early, where we can minimize the cost. Everything is it's
like
it's
vitamins.
all about right.
Like,
Dude,
you should be able
listen.
to make money if you make vitamins and you sell vitamins.
Right.
You should be able to make money on vitamins.
Right. But if
I come to you with a broken leg,
I shouldn't be able to get my leg sit here for $5,000. Go across town, it cost me $12,000. Go down to the south and it's only $3,000.
Okay,
Go up to Canada and
hold
it's
on,
$800.
but let me ask you this:
Right.
What about the skill of the doctor who sets your leg?
What about when you need a
There's-
specialist? You come in and maybe it
doctor's a
costs more. He's
doctor.
compensated.
No,
A doctor,
no.
he gets
A
compensated
doctor
no more
doesn't
than like
set your leg, you guys. A surgeon sets your leg. So, and there's skill levels to this
Right.
shit. So, this is the abortion theory, right?
Right.
They brought this up back in the day. Do you want the cheapest heart surgeon? Your life is on the line.
No.
You had a heart attack. Do you want the cheapest heart surgeon?
But just because you
Do
make
you-
a lot of money and it costs a lot of money doesn't mean it's the best.
We're
Money
not
doesn't
talking about what
quantify
you
it.
make. We're not talking about
But,
what you make.
but the price doesn't quantify the
Your
caliber
income-
of the experience.
Your income is not the issue.
Right. Right.
But the free market is out there. Are you picking
I
the
don't believe the
cheapest
free
heart
market
surgeon?
is a true market.
Are you picking the cheapest heart surgeon?
I picked the cherry. I picked the one.
You
that-
have all the money in the world. Are you picking the cheapest heart surgeon out there?
If money's no object, what do you pick? We all pick the highest end because we think the highest end is the best way to go.
Well, maybe.
If money's no object,
I'm trying not
But-
to get too philosophical.
money's no object.
My
But money
headphones
for
fell
most
off.
people,
That's hilarious.
for most
No,
people,
listen.
money's the object.
Slow down. Hear me, dude.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm not saying the most expensive thing is always
Right.
the best.
Right.
Not saying they're always the most skilled.
Right.
I'm saying in the real world, free market, social market, communist, all that aside, zombie apocalypse style. Okay?
Right.
Zombie apocalypse style.
Right.
Okay? There's literal zombies running around. But we've got it under control. So you need heart surgery before you fucking actually have a heart attack.
Right.
There's 80 surgeons left in the country.
Right.
You can pick any of them.
Right.
You have any amount of money you choose.
Right.
You're poor, you're modest, you're rich.
Well,
Doesn't matter.
that list
Are
is
you
not a-
picking the cheapest heart surgeon? The answer is always no.
Well, if he's a good heart surgeon, and he's only 80 left. They all got
then
picked
he's
out.
not
Maybe
going to
he
be
is.
the cheapest.
Maybe he is.
He's not going to be.
Maybe he has a different
He's
view.
not going to be.
You see? Yeah, I think that's.
No,
I think it's
because
a different.
there's
Hey,
other
listen, guys,
things-
I got one more topic I want to talk about
We got.
before we
We got to
close.
look
Hold
at
on,
it.
let me
we got to
finish
look
this
at it
point.
different, man.
No, hold on. Let
Listen,
me finish this point because there's intrinsic costs that go with him. So it may be his skill.
perceived costs and presented costs.
It may be his skill, which is an intangible
Right.
perceived cost. Okay, it could be the literal skill. So no,
Right.
listen, I have better equipment.
Right.
I have better lights. I have
Right.
higher end.
Why should that
knives.
matter? Why should that increase the cost?
It's the same reason.
Why
that
should that increase the
it's the
cost?
same
It's not
reason-
your skills. The lights
it's
aren't
the
your
same.
skills.
It's the same fucking reason that a Gibson guitar is more expensive than an Epiphone.
Right.
There's better equipment in it. There's
Well-
better materials in it. There's more attention to detail. They
Right.
care more.
Right.
That's why.
The Epiphones that are made in Kalamazoo, Michigan, when Gibsons are made in Kalamazoo, are almost kind of the same.
That was
price.
70 years ago.
Doesn't matter. They were
It
made.
totally
It's still
matters.
an Epiphone and a Gibson.
No, because
now Epiphone are made in Japan,
Epiphone
and they're made with lesser quality of materials.
And that's
Yes.
not true. That's
see,
not true.
the
Gibsons were
problem
not made
is
there. Gibsons were not made there.
Kalamazoo.
Nope. Les Pauls were made there.
Well,
and that's because
the
Epiphone.
factory of Gibson is
hold
in
on.
Kalamazoo.
Hold on. Here's the thing. That's a bad analogy. You're making a straw man argument because that's not true. Is what actually happened is Epiphone allowed Les Paul himself to come in and make that guitar.
Right.
And then Gibson picked it up. Okay.
Gibson
Now they were
bought
two different
Epiphone,
companies
and they were
back
made
then.
in Kalamazoo, and the
They were-
Epiphones that were made in Kalamazoo are made about.
But
they're
that's
not
like
worth that
comparing.
much less
But
than
that's
any
like
Gibson
comparing.
right there.
That's like comparing a Japanese
Well, that's where it went to.
But no, that's like comparing a Japanese Squire from the 80s to a Mexican Fender from the 90s to an American Fender from 2000. It's not
there's
fair,
no comparison
dude.
there.
It's not fair.
And I couldn't make that
That's
comparison.
a straw man argument.
I couldn't make
you can't
that
do that,
I'd only
dude.
make the comparison.
This is musical blasphemy you're doing right here, brother. You can't do this.
All I can say is
you can't do that. You can't
two
use that
people
comparison.
can be right at the same time. Did you ever know that?
No, it's not
When
true.
two people
I'm only
argue-
right ever.
Two people can literally be right at the same time.
I forget where
good.
we actually started.
It's all
this.
good. I just think
I love it. It's a good musician
here's
talk.
here's
Exactly
the issue.
What I envisioned.
Here's the problem that we have of it all is that we continue doing the same things. You see, your arguments are all about the same kind of things that we do because those are the things that work. That's the problem. Those things don't work. That's why we're at where we're at. The only way to get things better and become better is we have to start doing what's working. What's
people.
working? Who?
People work.
Who's working? I'm not talking about people working.
Individual people.
What part of the system is working?
The
for
individual.
The people? Is the system working for the blacks who've been killed in the streets for impunity?
I'll tell you what.
Because that system has been going on, and that same thing's been happening. And like we talked earlier in the show, and what we talked about, it's been going since punk rock. It's been going on since the '60s. It's been going on since the '50s. It's been going on since the
1619.
Thank you. What's that? 300?
1619.
300.
We are not
no,
going
you're
back.
right. No, but
Well,
see,
let's go back to Egypt.
But
then.
no, we're not going
Let's go back to the Egypt when my people were persecuted. I mean, Jesus Christ, you guys.
We have to think
let's
about
keep this in
everything.
reality.
We
Let's
have
keep
to
this
do
in
it all
reality.
different. We
What
have
are
to
you
do
talking
all
about?
different. Everything we do in society. How much money is too much money for any one person to have? Getting on a topic.
It's none of your business.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you then? Should that money tell our government what they could do for us?
As long as I'm
Does that money tell our government what we elect? Why do you have a bigger voice than I have when you have so much money?
Listen,
that's
man.
what I'm saying.
Here's
Your voice
the thing.
should be no bigger.
No, listen,
Gotta
dude.
do it different.
Listen, man. Here's the thing.
You got that money.
No.
Money's got to go away.
No.
All of it.
No.
Equality is on a person.
Nope. Here's what's going on.
That's why.
Here's the reality.
No one should
I
make
believe
money
in
off
the
bad calamities and accidents.
Fine.
Sickness,
but that
deaths.
you took that idea and you ran to the extreme of money should be eliminated.
No, I didn't say that.
And
That's what you just said that. I never said money should be eliminated.
That shit's on record. You literally just
never said
money should be eliminated.
I did not say that.
Oh, guess what?
I said how much money is too much money for one person to have?
All right.
How much money is too much money for one person?
What did I just say earlier?
You know,
I just said when something gets exploited, people build in defenses. So guess what? Next podcast, I'm going to have a replay buffer because you said
I did not say let's get rid of money.
I am telling you the way
you paraphrase. You paraphrase what I said.
I'm quoting you the way you ended your statement. The way you ended your statement is, I quote, money should be eliminated.
No, money never should be eliminated.
That's what you said.
So we're clear. So we're clear.
Money should never be eliminated. Okay. We should never have an electronic monetary
that is what
system.
You said.
I know I never did say that. Ever.
You maybe misspoke.
I couldn't say that.
You misspoke. You misspoke. Then you misspoke.
The only thing I said.
Then you We're going to clarify this. Then you misspoke, and that's not what you meant, but that is 100% what you said.
Nope, that is not what I said.
That's what I jumped on and said, no.
That's not what I said. I asked you how much money is
We're not
going to
be able to move past this until we agree on this one
Actually,
thing.
what we'll do
because you did, in fact, say that.
This is where we'll start the next podcast. This is where we'll start the next podcast.
Because we should have someone replay, because I wouldn't say that.
9 o'clock.
Money gives you
We've
liberty.
Been going since 1.
I said that earlier, so I couldn't say that because it contradicts what I talked about earlier.
So I'm going to answer your question.
Electronic money takes your liberty from you.
I'm going to answer your question. You asked me a question on your rant. You said, how much money is enough money?
How much money is too much money for one person to have?
That is
one person, not a company, not a corporation.
That's not up
to
you.
One person. Well, isn't it? Why isn't it?
Because
I'm not telling you how much you can't. This is why I asked you.
I'll tell you why. Because you're trying to
taxes are at 50%.
No.
You have $200 billion. I make $40,000, and I pay tax at the same rate you are. How much money is too much money?
I'll tell you why. It's none of your fucking business.
Right. Well, I get that.
I'll tell you why it's none of your fucking business.
I get that.
And here's why it's none of your fucking business.
Right.
Bottom line is equality of input versus equality of output. Okay.
So money makes you have a better quality of input than I do because I have less money?
Wrong.
That's what you just said.
You're not listening.
No, that's what you just said.
No. Listen. That's not what I said.
Quality of input? You got more money? That's a quality input? I got less, so my input's not as qualified as yours. That's what you just said.
Listen, it's the opposite of what I'm saying.
Well, see, that's what
If
I
I
said.
put in
There
more-
was no money going to be back. See, I
No,
interpreted
wrong.
that
You're not
differently.
listening. You're talking and you're waiting to respond, and you're jumping in and you're not listening.
All right.
Wrong.
Okay.
100% wrong.
All right, if you say so.
Here's the reality. If I work 12 hours in the field and you work 4,
Mhm.
we don't bring home the same amount of food.
Mhm.
So go fuck yourself.
Right.
Okay?
I'm
if
not
I
saying
put
we
in
should.
80 hours a week,
Right.
okay?
Right.
If I dictate my entire life and sacrifice cable TV and friendships and a social life and partying at First Avenue and doing drugs and having amazing stories, and I invest everything I have into starting the most brilliant company that the world has ever seen, and I make $1 billion fucking dollars, it is not up for you to decide that I do or do not get to keep that money. You
country.
do not get to decide that I have enough.
Right.
You
But
do
we
not get
the
to decide.
people
that.
do, buddy.
No, you don't.
Show
You
me-
don't, because
show me
we
in the
the people,
Constitution where your
we the
business
people
supersedes
didn't,
we
hey,
the people.
listen, we the people
Right.
didn't put in the same effort.
Doesn't matter.
Some people are lazy. It does fucking matter
In
because
Japan,
some
you
people
can't
are
make
lazy.
that much money in Japan.
That's why this isn't
You
Japan.
can't make that much money in China.
This is why-
You can't make that much money in the Soviet Union.
I don't want to be
Russia.
dude.
Listen,
fuck
this is what-
those countries.
this is
No,
where
no,
you're
no, no,
missing
no.
what I'm saying.
Stop.
Okay.
Stop.
Okay.
We are not Soviet fucking China.
No.
We are not fucking Russia.
Right.
We are not any of those countries.
Right.
Do not ever
We're
compare
not
us to them.
capitalist either.
Yes, we are.
No, we're not.
And
We're
this is a free
republic.
market.
We're a republic,
You
buddy.
can do whatever you want in this country. Is what we're not going to do
No, you
is
can't.
we're not going to tell
can't
people
yell fire in
you
the
can
theater.
only be so successful because that's inciting violence.
telling, that's not what I'm saying.
Stop.
Not what I'm
Stop.
saying.
You
The
were
question
literally.
was-
You
the
were
question
literally.
was,
Hold on.
how much?
Hold on. You were throwing darts
I'm
at a
not
dartboard.
telling you how
No,
much. I'm
you are-
asking you a
no,
question
stop.
of how much is too much.
Dude, you
and I
were-
want to quantify it. If you were taxed at 50%,
You were throwing-
you made $200
you were
billion
throwing
and I
darts.
made $40,000. A
Dude,
50%
you were
tax
throwing
doesn't
darts
affect you.
at a dartboard. You are randomly throwing shit at the wall. You
I'm
are
trying to
switching.
make a point of something.
You're not making a point.
No, of
you're
course not.
trying to justify
'Cause
a
you can't
capped
see
income.
that.
No, you're
No,
trying
I'm
to
not
tell
trying
me
to justify
that
a
certain.
capped income.
You live literally tried
I
to
am
sit here
not
and justify.
trying to justify. I asked the question: how much is too much
That's none of your business.
for anybody?
It's none of your
that's
business.
fine.
It's none of your business.
And I said that's fine.
End of story.
You know, I said that's fine. Then businesses should not have any say in anything of political nature at all.
So-
I
or
agree
be
with
able
that
to-
100%.
So
Then we should
Citizens
repeal
United.
immediately. Immediately, we should repeal
Citizens United.
Citizens United. And why? Because the government just shut your business down. You see? And you didn't make any money, but your $200 million is made by a business that my government could shut you down. All right? They just shut every business down if they want in this whole goddamn country. Your right to make money
I mean,
is
they
then-
didn't.
But wait, they
There's
didn't.
certain
but
people
they
that are
could've.
remaining open.
That's right. But they could have shut it all down. Where would we be right now?
I mean, they can.
We would be open if we
They
would've all-
literally can't,
if
and they
would've-
haven't.
Right. Sorry about that. But listen, this is what I'm
No,
trying
no,
to say.
I
This is what I'm
like
trying to
this.
say.
This is a great
This
podcast.
is what I'm trying to say.
This is a great podcast.
If they
But
wanted
they
to shut
can't.
it all down, they could. But you know what they can't tell you to do? They couldn't tell you to stop making what you're making in your basement and selling it. They can tell every business to shut down. They could tell every business because that's the power of the government over commerce. So your money's made off the graces of the government. Now, if you went out and had a basement business and you made $200 billion, you're right. That's nobody's fucking business. But as long as you walk out in the public with your $200 billion and you're throwing that goddamn money around and you're influencing everything that's happening and affecting me and him and her and everybody else, goddamn right, it's our business. That's what I'm saying. There's the inequality. Of 50.
See, where I think the common ground is that the politicians who are being bought aren't being held accountable. That's the key. The problem isn't rich people.
No,
the
you're right.
problem is rich people's ability to influence the government and the government not being held accountable for being bought.
Thank you.
Like
Well,
quite literally. Because
With
this
the
is how you
baby
get a
boomers
Hitler.
Retiring,
So now you see-
corporations
now you
This
see-
is how you get a
Listen,
Hitler.
now you
Corporations
see-
need educated human beings to work for their
But
business.
the
Well,
government
and here's
doesn't
what
want
I'm going to say, though.
education.
Here's how you get a Hitler. You get a Hitler by force or by
And guile.
wealth.
And guile.
Or wealth. No. Hitler literally was elected
Yeah.
and then murdered everyone who opposed him.
Yeah, no, but
You
that's
either
not
do
true.
that or
he
you
did it with
buy
guile.
everyone.
He did it with guile. That's why he got the brown shirts, the SA.
But you get what
under
I'm saying.
Ernst Röhm.
You either do it by
Right.
force or you do it by bribing
Right.
and buying people.
and
It's
he did
one
it,
of the
he
two
did
ways.
it with guile to Ernst Röhm, who was the head guy of the SA. See, this is like a part of early history before 39. Ernst Röhm was the man in charge of the largest
Okay,
military,
but before
paramilitary
we go
organization.
too far,
Right, I'm
before
just
let's
talking about
just
the
let's
guile.
put a
Before we
couple
go
things
too
to bed.
far, I
We've
thought
already
we
went
already
far.
went too far.
Let's just
We've
put a
gone
couple
back
things to
and we're
bed.
coming
Right.
back
Let's
again.
put a couple
Right.
things to bed.
I'm not talking about personal wealth or eliminating anybody's personal wealth.
because dude, here's the thing: is like this is right. There is no answer, and it's nobody's business.
Right, and you're right. Until you start throwing your money around and you start making it all the public's business, because your money is influencing everything that's going around and affecting our lives.
But then the issue really isn't your wealth.
Right.
It's the politicians' lack of ability to resist that temptation.
But your wealth has opened
the bill
up the
that
door.
justifies their ability to do it.
Right.
And that's Citizens
United.
That needs to be
so see there. So the money gave the association of that bill to be open. I truly believe
this has been a riot of a podcast. By the way,
I told you.
I want to tell you right now. I truly believe
this is
Anthony
super
Scalia,
over the top.
I have no proof of this. This is just my own personal feeling. I believe Anthony Scalia, who passed that legislation through the Supreme Court, the Citizens United, realized when he saw.
For people that are confused, you guys have said this a few times. I have a vague understanding. For people that are confused, because there's also listeners that aren't even from America. I got fans across the world already.
Right.
I know that sounds absurd for me to say out loud, but it's true. I showed the actual
Citizens
stats.
United
what is it?
Is a piece of public policy that allows corporations to act like citizens, to lobby, to put money into
the political parties.
So is this the same thing that is behind the
Super
law?
PACs.
Hold on. I'm asking a very specific. Is this the same thing that is directly related to the idea that corporations have the same actual rights as a person?
Right.
Yes.
Right. And can use their influence
in our political forum.
Like I give a candidate $20 to run for office.
Okay.
A corporation can do
so we agreed earlier.
Right.
Okay. So you guys met me on one side of the fence. We agreed that how much I make is none of your fucking business.
Absolutely.
And there's no such thing as you deciding when somebody else can stop making enough money.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right.
I will meet you on the side of the fence is when a corporation has the same rights as a human being who has the ability to have empathy and sympathy and make conscious decisions of morals and values and change and evolve. No, I'm not down with that.
Right.
So yes, if you're telling me that there's a bill, what is it called again?
That's the Citizens United.
If you're telling me it's called Citizens United and all we got to do is get rid of this, to me, this single-handedly destroys most of the problems we have.
Yep.
It's like nuking a lot of the quote-unquote social injustices we have.
The truth is we got to get money out of politics.
I hate the idea.
I hate spent other areas of society.
This money that you were talking about earlier, saying going to the Sudan. What if that money and that earmarks to go in Sudan company is not really anybody holding it up, but this company, this corporation that has you because they gave you a lot of money, saying this is what we need for Sudan in 2 years because we're going to move this department store and we're going to need this infrastructure.
Right.
See, that's messed up. Right. And that's what we got to get out. And Citizens United, which is a Republican thing, and this is what I was trying to talk about earlier, how what they've done in a lot of legislation, they made it this very savvy thing, how they make it sound good. Your right to work is about union busting. Listen, just like that, no one has the right to tell you can't be in a union or stop you from making a union. They make our lives better. Without unions, we wouldn't have weekends. We wouldn't have an 8-hour work day.
Their lives better.
Well, without them, we wouldn't have weekends. And Ford, who was a capitalist, wouldn't have weekends. We wouldn't have an 8-hour work day.
7-day work weeks.
6. We'd have a 5. That's why we have a 5-day work week and not this shit. That's why
you mean that wasn't Ford. That was Roosevelt.
Ford started it, which led to the change.
Roosevelt did all that.
No, but Ford, when he in his plant, he gave his workers set a 5-day work. Ford manufactured.
Henry
Ford. Sorry.
Yeah, dude. I'm thinking Gerald Ford. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Henry Ford.
Okay.
Henry Ford.
Yeah, because he realized he had such a shitty job that no matter how much he paid people, he couldn't keep them, so he had to treat them better.
Right. And
that's why, and then you're right. FDR was a big those two were close friends. That's why FDR gave him the contract for the World War II bombers and the tanks and all that.
Then we always have to remember that his factories didn't get bombed by
the
40-hour Germany either.
The 40-hour 5-day work week.
I said Henry Ford's factories that were in Germany during World War II did not get bombed by the United States, and they produced vehicles for the Germans until the end of the war, basically. And Ford was appointed or presented the highest civilian medal.
Not to the end of the war.
No, Henry Ford was given the highest award by the German government for a civilian for their factories in Germany by Hitler. So like in 37, I think. So there's
way before we joined the war.
Well, yeah, but the war started in 39. But when we
people-
were in the war,
he
we didn't.
There was a
corporations
lot of
to
sympathy.
manufacture
Dude,
yeah.
there was Nazi sympathizers
Here.
in every level of the American government
They were in
until
the
they bombed us.
They were in the British government.
Yeah.
Until they bombed us.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then it was
White
like,
supremacy is
nope,
a real thing.
Yeah.
nope. We didn't even know about the white supremacy shit. We really didn't even know about any of
No,
that
the
shit.
world knew about it.
That's what the whole basis of it.
But we didn't get that real information over here. We got
We
propaganda.
turned our
Yeah.
head to it because it didn't affect.
It was socialism that was pushed, which
Didn't
is
affect
it's all
us
about the
till the-
people.
Well,
It's about the
Japanese
workers.
bomb
Well, like I was going to say,
Like
you know,
that's what was pushed, and that's where the sympathy came because they were like, this shit makes sense for America. You
Yeah.
know, we're the ones out there doing the work. We're the ones doing this. We're the ones doing that. Henry Ford pays his people well. He's working with the Nazis. How come the rest of America can't? This is literally shit you just mentioned.
Hey, we gotta take this to overtime.
Are we
But
in
you see
overtime?
what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying though?
We're gonna wrap this up.
You see what I'm saying though? Like,
Yeah.
like it wasn't until they bombed us, and
Yeah.
then we were like, nope, fuck the Germans.
So
or
the Germans never
fuck the-
bombed us. They bombed the Japanese did it, and then we declared a war on them, and then Hitler declared war on us because he was allies with the Japanese, and then we declared war on Germany.
Right.
So Germany, if Hitler wouldn't have declared war on us after 1941, it might have been a few more another year
And
before
we
we got
didn't
involved
even-
in Europe.
And we didn't even know about the concentration camp shit until we were 2-3 years into the war.
That's not true because
It was
the world.
44. It was
when
the
we got
beginning of
pictures.
44 when we actually started getting credible intel that,
Well, we
there's
had-
something more going on than just POW camps here.
Cleansing of a community.
There's more because in the 30s, right in the late 37, I mean there was several large ocean liner ships that cruised around the world that had a whole bunch of Jews that were leaving and fleeing Germany who got permission to go. The whole world turned their back on them, and these people already knew that.
Except
they were
America.
No, America turned their back on them.
No, they
too.
didn't.
Yes, they did.
No,
They
they
sent them
didn't.
away. They
No,
sent
they
them
didn't.
back to Germany.
No, they didn't.
Well, we can agree to disagree on this because I know they sent them back to Germany because many of the people went to concentration camps and died. And it was early on before the war, before 39 and the war started. So the whole world the whole world turned their back on a problem that they knew.
I see what you're saying.
Just like when I was a little
I see
kid and
what
I
you're
told
saying.
my mom when I went up, like when I was little, the whole world was told something. Just like when I told my mom what was going on, and the whole world didn't believe it until we were there and saw the pictures. And then the media can spin it however, and especially today because the media is not a free press anymore because there's been things that have been eliminated that kept the media and made the media be driven to tell us a story so that you and I can choose the truth between ourselves, between the evidence and stuff they show. That's all gone now because of these things that the Republicans did away with underneath Reagan, underneath Bush, both Bushes, and shit. So that's why we all have credit cards because of usury laws, all this shit. So these guys have eroded this shit. That's why remember you're not that you're at 20 years, but when you were little, Time magazine and Newsweek magazine, those two magazines were the pinnacle of news information, either one of them. And then all of a sudden, underneath Bush, Newsweek stopped fact checking because they changed this truth in media and fairness in news. And what happened is now Time is the magazine. When you want to go look for, you don't go to Newsweek to go look and see what's really going on. You go to Time. And now we don't even know we can trust that because the media is no longer, when our founding fathers set it up, it's really the fourth check of the government, the freedom of speech, the free of press. Now when we change, so for example, let's just do this a micro thing of a macro. You are throwing this podcast. You control 59% of every podcast in America, and you're buying up another one. And we've got to this point where, we don't really believe monopolies, because we're not buying up just this anymore. We're buying up controlling interests in all kinds of life, my company. But you have an agenda, you have a thought, and you support this ideology. So now your media and your news is starting to present news and stuff as you want it to be presented in a truth that you're trying to get across to your customers, because we've gotten rid of provisions in law that said you can't tell me things that aren't really true. You have to show me, we used to have to show me the truth of this side, that side, so I can make my mind up. Now you're just telling me what you want me to hear, the Fox News, CNN, all this stuff. So we've gotten rid of the stuff that constrained us to tell the truth so that we could set up things like reality TV, which is all scripted. There's no real TV in reality TV.
Right.
Reality TV was the ability to write a movie or a show that I can present to you as if it's really happening and true, and it's all impromptu, and you don't know the truth. You see, that's what they've done about getting rid of these Fair Media Acts and the Truth in News, because it constrained media and they changed. And so instead of changing and allowing for fake TV, the real world, Pirate Island or whatever that fucking shit's called. There's no realness there. Nothing of it is. It's all fucking scripted.
Every day is scripted.
Right.
What they do is scripted.
So that's the problem. So now we got this shit that's scripted to us, so we're having a hard time to discern the truth. Especially then we have a leader who's attacking the free press, calling it fake news. Why? Because the Republicans took away the safeguards that made it be truthful, so that you could introduce things that weren't factual.
Well,
without
were
proof.
forced to the fairness doctrine that they repealed back in whenever
It was Bush.
They were
Truth in Media and the fairness
They were
in news.
required to present both sides of the argument.
That's right.
Yeah.
That way
Maybe
the
that's a
reader
good place to get back to.
makes up their mind of what's true.
They
But if
weren't
I-
required to purport the truth. They were
Right.
required to report both sides.
Both sides of a story that's
Of an argument.
Right. So that the reader makes up their mind for themselves. That's all done away with now.
Yep.
So that's
and I
gone.
agree with that. And there's a lot of people that are like, "Oh, it's inconsequential. I'm not
No,
that
it
worried
isn't.
about it." I'm like, "Dude, this
Truth
is like
matters.
one of the most important."
Truth does
And it's not
matter.
even the
Well-
truth. It's just both sides.
Well,
like
it
every
is.
source,
Because you
every
get the truth.
source, every source providing both sides of the argument, no matter what your bias is, allows the viewer, the listener, the reader to get a nuanced, varied perspective on how the truth affects them.
Right.
Not even what the truth is,
Right.
but how the truth affects them. It doesn't matter if they agree with it or not.
Right.
But they're going, "Oh, this person says this could affect me this way. This person says it could affect me that way. Or this person says it won't affect me." Whatever.
Right.
It won't affect me at all. I get to make up my own mind. But the beauty of the internet is also the downfall and the evilest side of the fairness doctrine
Right.
being gone, is that now you can go on the internet and you're not subjected to Time. You're not subjected to Newsweek. You're
Right.
not subjected to USA Today. You can get any information you want.
Right.
The problem is you can literally get any information
Right.
you want.
Right. Because there's no guard say this is true, this is not true.
Right, because again, there's no
Right.
fairness doctrine,
Right.
so anybody can say whatever they
Right.
want,
Right.
build 10,000, a million followers on YouTube, and seem credible.
Right. Right.
And now all of a sudden, you're a voice,
Right.
but you're still just as biased as the quote-unquote
Right.
liberal media
Right.
that's controlled by the Jews.
Right. Well, it's
Like-
just presenting another. It's tailoring a story that's not true to change
It
perception.
just creates echo chambers.
It creates slaves.
It doesn't affect change.
No.
It just reinforces shit that people already believe. It's an endless hamster wheel.
Right. Yeah. See, this is a great conversation. I'm glad you had me over.
Yeah, dude, we got to do this again.
Yeah. I got other things
We
like
gotta do this again.
like police. I've talked to
Sam
Sam
wraps
about
it
my
up,
idea.
but technically, Sam, you're not on this podcast, so you can leave at any time.
Sam and I've
He
had
even
many.
gave up. He even gave up. He's not even trying to have the microphone near him.
I know. I say he took his headphones off and he put it down. I was like,
Listen, we're gonna have to have you on again
I'd love
because
to be
we're
on
at
again.
3 hours basically.
Are we?
We're at 2 hours and we're at exactly 3 hours.
Nice. Nice.
So we'll wrap this up. It's getting
Yeah.
late, but we'll have to have you on again because you got a lot of shit going on now
Yeah.
that I want to talk more about. So we'll
Yeah.
do this again. Let's have you on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll come check out your studio. We talked about that on the phone too. Let's have you on like literally next month.
Yeah,
We'll
that'd
just
be
have you on
cool.
again
That'd
next
be cool.
month.
Yeah.
We'll just do it again. We'll
Yeah.
just do it again.
I got idea how to defund the police and make it better
Yeah.
by putting money back into something new and thinking outside the 9 dots and doing things different because what we've been doing ain't working.
Well, good luck defunding the police in this
I
neighborhood.
don't believe in
'cause we don't have enough.
I don't
cops in
believe in
this neighborhood.
defunding them. I believe in reworking the system.
That's part of the criminal industrial.
You can't talk if you're not
It
going to
is,
put your
yeah,
mic up to your
yeah.
face.
It is part of the criminal industrial complex. You know,
They are.
It is. No, I agree.
If you're not going to hold the mic up, Sam, you can't talk.
There is a
Copy
definite.
that. Thank you, brother, for having us here today, man.
Jared, thank you so much, man.
He's back on the mic.
Let's give it up for Jared Singer, Extravaganza.
Now the listeners can finally hear Sam again.
Welcome back, Sam.
Yeah, the New Year's show.
Yeah, we're doing a live New Year's thing.
Oh, are ya?
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. You guys, if you haven't liked or subscribed yet, do it now.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Check out the Virgin Whores. We showed you the link earlier. Just look up Virgin Whores on YouTube. They're the top one. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for both of us. I'm on a quest for 1,000. We got to get them to 100. That's your first metric you got to hit.
That'd be nice.
You get some shit unlocked in YouTube when you get to 100.
Oh, really?
Subs. So, unfortunately, we don't have anything directly to follow. But Sam, we got to get you back
we'll
on
be back
again.
talking about our Injustice Correction Engagement Authority, a bill for the Minnesota legislature.
And we got to get you on with Anwar, because Anwar apparently really digs you and has a lot he wants to talk to you about. So I think we did a lot of really cool things here tonight, guys. We've been kind of low key the last month. We remodeled. I moved from the studio over here. We moved it into this room. This room's still not done. It's just done enough to start podcasts. But we got other plans. We got a bunch of shit in the works. We got the diversity of guests that's coming up is just crazy.
2021.
2021 is going to be a wild year. I'm looking forward to it. I think I have one more podcast before the New Year's special. One more podcast before the New Year's special. The New Year's special is going to be wild. None of you are doing shit, so don't fucking pretend you are. Tune into the live podcast New Year's Eve. Put it on in the background. If you're having a small party, let's get fucked up. It's going to be a wild ride. We got Greg Moog from Black Flood Diesel. We got my former guitar player / I'm his former singer.
I love
in Dying Euphoria, Jeremy Blake, and city councilman, volunteer fireman, Satan worshiping Freemason JP Armstrong is going to be on. It's going to be an absolutely hilarious. I'm going after JP for being a Satan worshiper. He doesn't know he's a Satan worshiper.
I was going to say the Masons. That's a whole other topic.
He doesn't know he's a Satan worshiper. He's just a Mason. So I'm going after him. I already warned him. I'm coming after him. But tune in. It's going to be a blast. Well, I got one more. Don't shortchange me. I got one more on the 29th, and then we're doing the New Year's special. But this has been a fucking wild year.
We'll see.
A wild year. Hopefully everyone in charge of Minneapolis gets voted out, because these fucks don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Term limits.
And don't get me wrong.
Term limits across the board. No such thing as a professional politician, unless you go from the House of Representatives to a Senate position, and then you should be a limited time in there too.
Right. It's a fucking mess.
Yep.
There are no answers.
We got to take it back. We got to take back control, bring it back to the people.
But thank you guys so much. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. If you have guns and you need some cleaning shit, the promo is go to shooterlube.com. Singer at checkout is 10% or 15%, depending on if they actually updated it. So yeah, like, subscribe, hit the bell. You guys got the whole deal. You know what the fuck's going on. Blah, 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 blah. Thank you so much. Sincerely, it's been a blast.